1, 2, 3. Oh, hey. Hey, guys. There y'all are. Hey, I've been looking for you. How's it going? How's it going? Look, I'm going to say an inappropriate kind of. I'm going to say, how's your hoe? And people are like, what? How's your hoe family doing? Anyways, so how's it going? Long time no see. uh, hey, Dora. Hey, Sit and Spin. Good to see you back. Trace on the case. Maryland Pastor. How's New Orleans? I've been having this song stuck in my head. It must have been love. It has nothing to do with New Orleans, but Roxette or whatever. I don't even know. It must have been. Anyways, I am a human iPod. Hey, Janet. Good to see you. Good to see you here. Hello, a little bit. Welcome, old lady Snoop. Hope that ends up being a headline again in a couple of years. Except Idaho lets their dead men walking die of old age. Oh, dinosaurs. Right. Well, anyways, the top of the afternoon to you. It's Sunday. It is Sunday. Oh, I know what I had to do. So, I didn't realize that, you know, uh, that I didn't get through all the victim impact statements, you know. So Jason reminded me whenever I ended last night, he was like, hey, you need to check your email. And I was like, oh, yeah. I have 107,001. And then my crush at 0123, I don't even know. It's less than that, but I can't keep track. It's a lot. So Carrie Ann had sent hers in. So I'm going to read that real quick, if you don't mind. They're doing good, Dora. They're still kicking. And it's not my ass, so that's good. Hey, Carrie. Stewart. How you doing? How you doing? I was thinking about doing a giveaway today, but then I didn't have enough time. Like, I thought about it like 15 minutes prior, like I usually do. That's my best idea. So maybe the next time we'll do a little giveaway, maybe some $10 gift cards or something to Amazon or whatever. Maybe some little Visa cards. I don't know. Just appreciate you being here. And I think I have my merch shop. It's in the making. It was a hell of a task to undo some damage and just have my own damn account. So that'll become. If y'all have any ideas for that too, just feel free to let me know, or any of the mods. Beach Bum, Trace on the Case, Donna, Donald, and every now and then we have Robbie here. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Anyways, I'm already thirsty and I haven't even started yet. And it's hot in here, so I am going to go get another window unit because our main, I live in a trailer. I'm straight out the trailer, okay? Hey, Heidi's Mine, so good to see you. Glad to see you here. Hey, T.S. Jackson 72. Hey, y'all. Oh, yay. I'm glad. Google that on up, right? Okay, let me go read. Okay, so this one is, and they're long, okay? So, all right. This is from Carrie Ann. I love Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann's been here from jump, basically from jump. Whenever I went to Rexburg, whenever Lori became competent, Carrie was so sweet. She was not invasive. She was just real like, hey, I'm here, you know. She's just sweet. She's a sweet soul. And we just love her here. And we just cherish, her and many of you, uh, whether you're new or if you've been here from jump and you've seen this whole shit show express, I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate what you do for the victims and for our family and everybody impacted by this. Everybody. This impacts society. I'm thirsty. Okay. All right. So she wrote it to the first one's to Tylee. And she says, I may have never met you in person, but I have learned so much about you these last 4 years. You are such a beautiful young lady who has a heart of gold that loved so deeply. I have watched you grow up from a little baby to a beautiful young woman through videos and pictures, and that has brought me to love you like you were my own family. I have seen a picture of you as a baby sitting on a lawn chair, wearing the cutest sun hat with the strap around your chin to hold it on your little head, dressed in a little flower baby romper. You were absolutely adorable. You had the cutest little smile on your face with your little eyes squinted like babies do. Looking at that photo just makes me want to pick you up and love on you and get baby snuggles in. I have seen pictures of you as a toddler. You had the most beautiful blonde hair and the biggest blue eyes I have ever seen, the biggest smile that can fit on such an adorable little face. I have seen a photo of you with a microphone singing, and I can only imagine what Disney song you were trying to sing that day. I am sure it was precious. I have seen a photo of you in your cute little flower swimsuit with one hand on your cheek and your hair in a little pebbles ponytail on top of your head. You had such a cute, innocent smile on your face, as I am sure that you were excited to go swimming in your pool. Excuse me. I I have seen a photo of you going down a slide at a park with both of your hands up high with an open mouth smile as someone was getting ready to push you down the slide. I can almost hear your sweet giggles that day by looking at that picture. I have seen photos of you when you were in the hospital in 2008 with your big brother Colby by your side, sitting in the hospital bed with his arm around you. You were there with pancreatitis. You still had a smile on your sweet face as you did in so many other pictures. I have also seen a photo of you in the hospital with four of your friends coming to visit when you were a young lady, and once again, you had the biggest smile on your face. I am sure that it made you happy to have your friends there to talk girl talk with you. I have seen photos of you dressed up for Halloween in a Superman costume. I have also seen a photo of you dressed up as Pebbles with Brandon. Aw, you looked absolutely adorable. I have seen a photo of you bowling. You were holding up a green bowling ball with a smile upon your face as you were getting ready to throw it into the water. You were holding it with your left hand and your right hand holding the ball with a smile upon your face as you were getting ready to throw it into the water. You were absolutely adorable. You had the cutest smile on your face with the biggest smile that can fit on such an adorable little face. I have seen photos of you with your brother Colby by your side, sitting in the hospital bed with his arm around you. You were there with pancreatitis. You still had a smile on your face, as I am sure that you were excited to go swimming in your pool. I have seen photos of you with your brother Avery sitting in the hospital bed with his arm around you. You were there with pancreatitis. You still had a smile on your face, as I am sure that you were excited to go swimming in your pool. Y'all, Chris will be back. Sometimes her internet goes in and out, so she'll be back just shortly to finish uh, reading the impact letters. So she'll be right back.
Cresha and them may be having some weather down there. We have been having some weather here. And when we started, we came off of my internet because we were afraid that she would drop out. And if she dropped out altogether, it would end the live stream. So she'll be back just shortly, and we'll talk some more about this case and also about the Jeffrey Lundgren's case and how they're similar to what we've been dealing with Chad and Lori. And it's so wonderful that people had sent the victim impact statement. Some of the ones that they had, whenever Krisha had sent them on to me, they had like got encrypted. I couldn't read them. But anyways, she'll be back on. I'm sure she's just having to relog back in, maybe put her passwords in and everything. I did have a good birthday, Chris 10. I sure did. I had a very good birthday. And I turned 65, and I am so glad and happy to be turning 65. I guess I'm happier to be turning 65 than I was to turn 16 or 21. Also, I'm going to read some of the comments while we're waiting on Crush. It says, let's see here. This one started before Janet. Let's see what Janet was saying. I've been reading Common Traits of Occult Leaders. Number one, overabundant belief that let me show it. Overabundant belief that they were special, that they alone have the answers to the problems. They have been revered. And then she goes on to say that 4, they demand perfect loyalty from their followers. They overvalue themselves and devalue those around them. 6, they're intolerant to criticism. 7, they do not like being questioned or challenged. It sure does sound like Lori and Chad. Janet, it really does. I'm trying to, let's see here what it says here. They're talking about the condition. The poor Tylee had pancreatitis, and that was a terrible, painful thing that she had to live with most of her young life. And that's a shame too. Let's see some of these other comments. Let's see here. Heidi's Mind, I'm so glad you're here too. We haven't seen you for a while. We're glad you're here. And Krisha must be having a hard time with that dang computer tonight. So I know she's really glad that y'all are all here tonight and that she's having an opportunity to be, because this is really good for Krisha. The encouragement she gets from this community is really a lot. And also Jason gets a lot of encouragement from this community. And we are looking for new ways to cover this tragedy and ways to look at it and really to get the word out about how a thing like this can even happen anyway. So it's very important that we keep supporting Krisha through all this. And I know it's going to be, I don't know how many months it'll be till Lori is. I wonder if Lori will go to trial in Arizona before Chad goes to trial in Idaho. What do y'all think? Does anybody in the chat know? What do you think? I wish they would charge some more of these co-conspirators. And, you know, because certainly they had a part in it. And one of the things that is just so clear to me about Melanie Gibb, I'm just going to talk about Melanie Gibb till Crush gets back. Melanie Gibb was so deep in this stuff. She gave little talks and she talked very intelligently about what the plan was and what all was going to be done and said. And then she gets up there and acts like it was, she just never really believed it or any of that. She was a leader in it. She got Lori in it. So this way of thinking. So Melanie Gibb is really, there she is.
I read that whole damn thing.
Oh no.
Yeah, I just was like, wait, where's my thing? And I was like, oh shit.
About midways.
Oh my god. Like I was like, okay, well I'm looking for my StreamYard, and then I was like, it says something went wrong. I was like, obviously.
We talked amongst ourselves. Here you go.
Talked about me. No. Oh my god, that really sucks. I'd have turned my air conditioner on if I'd have known. No, I haven't. I said it. I said it, Carrie. You just didn't hear me because I was talking to myself. No, I uploaded it in my Canva app, so I just couldn't open it in my Canva app while I was reading from my email. So now I'm trying to open my Canva app, trying not to break my computer. Seems to have a mind of its own. I read the whole damn thing. Come on. I've got to figure this problem out because it is aggravating. I'm like, everybody else has just normal 21st century freaking cable and I'm sorry, internet, Wi-Fi. And here I am, just all janky and stuff. It just doesn't get easier. I know these are first world problems, but I'm like, is it too much to ask? I need Donna's tinfoil hat. Okay, so I am going to my projects, going to the projects, and I'll show the picture as soon as I pull it up. And there it is. I'm allegedly still recording. That's good. Thank y'all for being so patient. Okay, Tylee. So this is what the pictures that Carrie sent. I kind of added some. I'm extra. Okay, let me make sure you can see it because who knows? Who knows? Who knows around here? Okay, let me do this too. Let me find my way back. Okay, so this is the picture that she sent, which I had never seen, Carrie. So I'm like, oh wow, I had not seen that, And then this one, and I love this one too. I love this one too. Oh, it's just, she's so free. And I don't know, it's just a good image to reflect on, And her name was spelled with 2 N's. Oh, and my daughter, hers is spelled with 1. Isn't that crazy how, like it's Tylee Ashlyn Ryan and Colby Ryan, and then here we come and we meet Tylee whenever I met Tylee when she was 3, and I don't remember how old Colby was. He's a little older than my son, but so he so whenever I met them, Ashlyn was like, my little girl was, she was born in 2005. Tylee was born in, was it 2002 or 2003? I'm trying to remember. Anyways, and so it's like my Zach, was right under Colby. He's the same age, probably around my Uncle Charles's Zach. We have a lot of Zachs. We had a Zach attack. Yeah. And then, but it's crazy how my son's name is Zachary Ryan. His middle name is Ryan. And then I had Ashlyn, and I named her Ashlyn K. And then we met Colby and Tylee. Right, Ashlyn, Ryan. You know what I'm saying? It's just different. It's like, wow, out of all the names out there. Tylee's the same age as your daughter, and JJ's. Oh wow, Carrie, that's cool. Well, that's one way to remember, huh? Tylee would have turned 21 this year. I have to remember. Okay, it's 2023. Or she would, yeah, or 20. Oh my God, I don't remember. 2002 or 2003 is when she was born. Could have swore it was she would have been 20 last year. Yes, okay, thank you. It hurt. It probably hurt y'all too. Oh wow, yeah. Because Ashlyn, my little girl, is going to be 18. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry for real. She's gonna be 18 in December on Joseph Smith's birthday. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool, Carrie. That's really cool. That was, I mean, I'll have to go back and read it. I was straight just reading, and I didn't stutter too bad. Oh, your important birthday. Aren't they all important? No. I've got to say, the past couple of years, I have not wanted to. There's the 2021 is when the indictments came down, right? I remember, and it was all just, it was like a wave wall of shit at one time crashing down. It was good news, kind of, as good as an indictment and indictments can be, you know, but still, there's like this undertow, and it drags you down, or it did me, and I felt guilty. I'm just being honest. I felt guilty because my birthday is May 3rd. Tammy's is May 4th. The indictments were coming down right about that time. There was just all kinds of just shifts, you know, a bunch of shifts. And I just, I felt overwhelmed and alone, you know, just very isolated, alone. I didn't know how to feel. And I remember actually, like, I think I slept through my birthday that day or that year. Like, I was just like, ugh, I don't even want to show my face. Like, I don't feel like I deserved a birthday. I didn't feel like I deserved to breathe because they weren't breathing. You know, it's weird. Grief is weird. I don't know. I just roll with it. But, and this year was in Boise. Audrey Baratero testified on my birthday, and I showed up there right after she got off the stand. Boy, I kicked her ass. Just kidding, kind of. Anyways, and my mom forgot my birthday. It's the first time ever. I was like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, how happy can it be? But anyways, and then, yeah, there's a bunch of birthdays. Yeah, Lori's is tomorrow. She's going to turn 50 in the jail. And she's lucky because she gets to turn 50. Because nobody's playing God on her ass. But anyways, right? And then Donna's was, what, 2 days ago now? Yeah, those pictures are beautiful. I had never seen that one. I love you so much. You know, I had not seen that one. So that's crazy and cool all at the same time. Yeah, you feel it. You got a woo woo. You got a woo woo. Right. She gets to have another break. She gets to breathe. She's lucky. Hey, Rombo. You not at your mom's house yet? Are you back? Either way, glad to see you. Glad to see you. Everybody's saying woo woo. I wonder about Melanie's indictment for Brandon involvement, as her aunt has an indictment there. Right? We all want to know. Inquiring minds want to freaking know. I feel like they've been jerking us around on everything else. Okay. So, yeah, Trace, I'm going to put you on the spot. Kind of. Oh, if I brought my phone in here. That's crazy. I know I did. I had to have. It's a part of my body. Allegedly. What the hell? I am so slipping today. More than every other day. I would yell, Jason, you got my phone? That's nuts. I always have my phone. I probably do. I'm just panicking. My purse is big. I got a big old purse. Oh, you know. I had a small purse whenever I went to Boise, and I was like, I'm never using a small purse again. Ever. Here, I go from one extreme to another. I hide it from myself. Is it on the floor? Oh, I wanted to read what Trace, because she had kind of did like not a report, but just a little comparing Jeffrey Lundgren's case against, Chad Lori, this whole shit show. And she was just to the point, unlike myself. I'm hoping Jason will hear me and he'll feel sorry for me and he'll come bring it to me. Jason! I don't want to yell because then y'all will really leave. Oh, hell. I guess I left it in the room. In the room that way. So, crap. Hey, Justice Chain. Welcome. Welcome aboard. Anyways, yeah. So, suitcase. I don't have a lot of stuff in it. I definitely don't have my phone in it. That's for sure. Is it in my makeup bin? Here I go, asking myself questions. It's a game we play. It's a game that I play. Hold on. I'm going to try and mute myself. I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab it. Chat amongst. Oh, let me do this so I can turn my loud ass air conditioner on, y'all. Okay. You want me to talk? Oh, girl, you are good. Donna is awesome, y'all. Wow. I just went to go grab my phone. She's like, that tinfoil hat is awesome. I need one. Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. Y'all know it's just a casual. We do cash here. We do casual. Did we change the time? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I got it. Well, I'll just read it since you went and did all that. So this was Trace. She wrote, I highlighted and took notes. When I see journal articles, I automatically feel like I'm writing a research paper. Right? I do this. I have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks. Yeah. I got it. I can't look away though, because then I'm like, what? Okay, so this is just basically her, like a synopsis or whatever on Jeffrey Lundgren. Okay, hey Linda, this is my cousin Linda. She's actually, well, more like second cousins, I think, but she was first cousins with Uncle Charles. She used to babysit him. Right, Linda Lou. So good to see you. Oh, am I back? My internet's tripping. We actually did call T-Mobile, or Jason did, because he does that kind of stuff. I don't. But he called because we were having problems with our internet more than normal. So there's that. But they said that they're having trouble with our towers. So just know that. And I'm sorry, there's nothing I can really do. I don't know how to fix these problems. But let's get this going. So this was between, Jeff Lundgren and the Daybell case, basically. And she says some things that stuck out was all the accomplices. They were charged. They may have gotten good plea deals, but at least they had to offer up something good, not the crap testimonies we saw full of lies that would cause someone to lose any plea deal. Thanks, Olive. Melanie's and the bullshit she got away with. That's just messed up. How many here think that? Okay, it's bullshit. It's like, okay, it's time to stop playing. They're living, she's, enjoying time with her baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand. This is just, and especially after looking at Jeff Lundgren's case, I'm just like, yeah, where's all the mug shots? Anyway, sorry. Melanie's and the bullshit she got away with, that's just messed up. And I do kind of see the point about his son, Jeffrey Lundgren's son, Jeffrey and Alice Lundgren's son, Damon. He's got like 150 years, I think. So it's basically like Chad Daybell's kids taking part in this, which, hey, a cult leader ish, whatever. You know what I mean? The indoctrination, right? Okay. And I do kind of see the point about his son raised in the cult to know absolutely nothing else. That just wasn't the case here. It's so small. I'm sorry. These people were not completely isolated. Just talking about the Lundgren cult. They were all out functioning in society. They were adults and they went to public schools and whatnot. They had, I'm going to read it from my phone. I can't. It's it's small. Okay. These people were not completely isolated. They were all out functioning in society. They were adults and they went to public schools. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. And whatnot. They had the opportunity to be socialized in normal ways. Hell, they created the group to suit themselves. So none of that really applies. It talked about actual threats, and the only one who described who was the Missouri chick. She said bad memory, and she didn't sound credible. She sounded like she was trying really hard to be upset, kind of like Amber Heard. Or like Emma, right? I'm just saying. I threw that in. I really don't believe in the death penalty for personal reasons, but I'll tell you, the point was made and taken about it being used as a tool to draw out the truth, which I had never considered to the degree I did reading this. And even still, the plea agreements had prison terms of at least 7 years, so nobody got off free. So, right? I want to see somebody picking some damn trash up on the side of the road or something. I want to see all the stuff. I want to see their interviews, their little baby interviews, the little kid gloves. It's so silly. Uh, it's not silly. It's enraging. It pisses me off. Just really, it does. Uh, when Melanie Gibb came, out in her East Idaho news extravaganza thing, and she tried to save face. She was so brave. She didn't need a lawyer. She had a lawyer, though. Just know that. She was snowballing all of us. And that pisses me off even more, and her talking to my mom and my dad. And I'm just like, bitch, don't talk to my family. get your cooties away from my family. That's bold to me. That's bold. Her and David. The audacity. And you know that Melanie Gibb wrote that 7-page letter to AVALLOW. But we don't so much as get a, hey, you don't see any empathy or compassion or nothing. It's all me, 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 me. That's what I see. And then she talks shit, oh, I'm sorry. She talked shit, when she was being recorded by Sherry Dowdle. It's just, and no, I start flashing back to the things that she did to my uncle with Lori. She's okay with that. She's cool. She's cool. Like the other side of the pillow. She's cool with that. So just know that if you're okay with that, then you're okay with Melanie Gibb. She's so, anyways, that's just one of them. Y'all know. But, anyways, enough about that. Thank you, Trace. That was awesome. Okay, so I've just kind of picked up some things along the way. I bought the book. It's called Prophet of Death, and it's the Mormon blood atonement killings. It's written by Pete Eerily. Okay, and am I doing the right thing? I thought I shared it. Yeah. I wonder why it's not. Hold on. Hold, please. What? Why is my picture up there? Okay. What is going on? I hope my internet's not screwing it up. But I'm trying. Why is it showing my picture? That's so weird. What the hell? I'm so confused. What? Okay, let me know if y'all see I'm sharing my picture. Why? Oh, I think that's the background thing. Okay, so why is it not showing? I did that so I could size it. So now you know my secret. Uh-oh. Oh. I didn't know. And I made the damn thing. I'm just saying. Still don't know why it didn't show my screen, though. Like it should right now. Y'all, I'm brand new. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go back. Redo. Right? One day I will get good at this. And it'll be over. Then we'll move on to the next technology. That's, crippling. All right, so this book, again, is Prophet of Death, the Mormon Blood Atonement Killings. And this is written by Pete Eerily, E-A-R-L-E-Y. And it's got a lot of pages, okay? There's 6, well, we're in location 125 of 6,872, okay? So it's a big old, it's got a lot of locations. So chapter 1, Alice Elizabeth Keeler was 18 when she met Jeffrey Don Lundgren. She was a senior in high school. He was a freshman at Central Missouri State University in Warrensburg, Missouri, about 40 miles southeast of Independence, Missouri. Alice had caught a ride to the campus with the youth minister from her church in Odessa. I thought that was in Texas. Hold on. a farming town north of the school. Usually, her parents, Ralph and Donna, didn't let Alice go out of town without a chaperone, but they figured she was safe with the pastor. Mm. And Alice was intent on using the college library. She was writing her senior English. She really does sound a lot like how Lori was, in my opinion. Sorry, somebody's pulling up in my driveway. She was writing her senior English term paper about the origins of the Book of Mormon. And the public library in Odessa had only a few books on the Mormon religion and its founder, Joseph Smith Jr. Alice was a member of the, I'm just going to say RLDS, reorganize, you can read it, it's right there, a branch of Mormonism. And she wanted to make certain that her paper was thoroughly documented. Most of the Gentiles, by the way, that's anybody who is not Mormon. Okay, just so you know that when I learned that too, because they're the one true church, allegedly. In her English class, would scoff at her beliefs. She considered Joseph Smith Jr. a prophet, was convinced that God had spoken directly to him, and believed, as all good Mormons did, that the Book of Mormon was as important to us, was as important to us, if not more important than the Old and New Testaments in the Bible. Boom, right? There's a lot. There's a lot of people that think just like this. That was why Alice had to use the college library. If her paper swayed just one of her classmates, then all the ridicule would be worth it. Alice loved her God, and she was confident that he loved her. We were just talking about Joseph Smith. We weren't talking about God. You see what I'm saying? Anyways, on this particular Friday night in the spring of '69, Alice finished at the library early and earlier than expected. So she walked across campus to a former 2-story house that had been converted by the RLDS church into a student union. Alice immediately spotted an older girl from Odessa who offered to introduce her to the other students. The only boy Alice would later remember was Jeffrey. Right? He was dressed in a neatly pressed white short sleeve shirt and with tiny thin blue and yellow pinstripes. She gushed to her best friend later back in Odessa. Quote, his shirt matched his blue corduroy slacks. He was also wearing brown penny loafers and no socks. Can you believe it? He wasn't wearing any socks. Oh my God. Unquote. Sounds like Melanie Gibb in the Rexburg Police Department interview. They was talking about the no socks. She threw her leg up on the interview table at the cop station. You see what I'm saying? Although they had talked for only a few minutes, Alice was smitten. Jeffrey was like no other man I had ever met, she said. Neither of them made any effort to keep in touch after that chance meeting. Alice returned home, graduated, and spent a week at a church-run summer camp. But she didn't forget Jeffrey. One of the other girls there had just finished her freshman year at CMSU. I cannot read. And she had gone out on a date with Jeffrey. Alice quizzed her about him. The girl said, he tried to get me drunk and take advantage of me, the girl confided. Alice was horrified. She couldn't believe that the friendly boy she had just met would be so pushy. During evening vespers at the camp, Alice decided to ask God whom she would eventually marry. Alice had been taught that a woman's role was to serve her husband and raise a family. What would her husband be like? As she prayed silently with the other campers, perched on a split log bench around a bonfire. After several minutes of silence, one of the adult counselors stood up and began to prophesy. Right? Everybody duck. Everybody close earmuffs. No. One by one, the counselor called out each camper's name. He was being moved by the Spirit. And this is normal in this religion, to give them a message from God. This was a common practice in the RLDS church, and Alice believed that whatever the counselor said was from the Lord. Quote, unto my sister Alice, the man proclaimed, thus saith the Spirit. I have seen your tears and I have heard your prayers, and I will never leave you comfortless. That reminds me of the second comforter right there. I will direct your path and I will hold your life in the palm of my hand, for there I have engraven you. Unquote. While others might have thought the prophecy obscure, Alice understood. She felt God was telling her not to worry about her future husband. God was going to direct me to him. Unquote. On the final day of camp, the group held a Sunday morning testimonial service. Because it was raining, they met in the dining hall at one of the RLDS's most revered patriarchs spoke. Quote, we were told that the fellowship we had enjoyed that week had been acceptable in God's sight, and that it was pleasing unto him, Alice said. The patriarch said that our generation was the one that would see the establishment of God's kingdom here on earth, and that many of us would be instruments in his hands in the bringing forth of his kingdom in these latter days. Bam. That was told to a lot of girls, a lot of guys. It wasn't just the RLDS. And the speaker had looked directly at Alice, picking her out of the group for no apparent reason. He called her by name and said that God had given him a message for her. And unto you, my daughter Alice, he said, thus saith the Lord, you shall have the answer to your prayers. You shall marry a companion whom I have prepared to bring forth my kingdom, and he shall be great in the eyes of these people, and shall do much good unto the children of men. For I have prepared him to bring forth a marvelous work and wonder. Alice hadn't told anyone about her prayers, yet the patriarch had known exactly what she had asked God. She began to cry, and it says, quote, God had chosen me, she said, lowly me, to help bring about his kingdom on earth. God complex, okay? You can't tell people they're special and then feed it. Just kidding. A few weeks after summer camp ended, Alice was asleep in her bedroom at night when she felt something pressed down on her. She was being crushed by what she would later describe as, quote, an evil presence, unquote. Alice couldn't raise her arms. I've experienced this, so just let me know how many of you have. She couldn't raise her arms. She couldn't lift her legs or roll off the bed. She was paralyzed, and as she lay there terrified, the weight of the evil presence began to increase until she felt as if she were about to be crushed by Satan himself. In a panic, Alice began to pray, and when she called out Christ's name, the evil spirit was, I don't like how they put it, jerked off of her, as if a hand had reached down and grabbed Satan by the neck and pulled him away. No one doubted Alice when she described her experience. This is, in my opinion, that was called sleep paralysis, you know. But anyways, so no one doubted Alice when she described her experience the next Sunday at the RLDS church in Odessa. Many in the congregation had shared similar supernatural experiences during testimonials at church. Alice's story was comforting confirmation that Jesus Christ protected those who called for his help. After the church service, Alice was congratulated by members for giving such an inspirational and moving testimonial. She was clearly someone special and destined to do great things in the church. So she goes and enrolls at Central Missouri State University that fall as a freshman. One of the first boys she bumped into was Jeffrey. He was playing cards with his best friend, Keith Johnson. At the RLDS Student Union. Alice knew Keith from various church events, and when he saw her, Keith waved her over and began introducing her to everyone. She said, we already met. Alice beamed when Jeffrey was introduced. Years later, after Jeffrey had formed his cult in Kirtland, he would often reminisce about the first time he met Alice. Quote, from the instant that I first saw her, unquote, he would say, quote, I knew she was my wife. Sound familiar? Unquote. It was as if he had always known her, as if they had always been together before, he would say. Other probations, maybe? Anyways. As if they had been as if they had always been together since the beginning of time. It was an enchanting story. It was also a lie. When Alice looked up at Jeffrey on that fall day in 1969, she realized that he didn't remember anything about their first meeting a few months earlier. We met last spring, she said. You weren't wearing any socks. And then Jeffrey glanced down. He wasn't wearing any now either, so his feet stunk too. They laughed. Keith invited Alice to play cards. He and Jeffrey let her win every hand. Well, that's awful nice of them. Afterward, they asked Alice if she wanted to go with them to a nearby ice cream parlor. En route, Keith said, Jeffrey wants to ask you out, but he's too shy. Jeffrey turned bright red. Alice laughed. Keith explained that he was having a picnic at his parents' farm that weekend. He already had a date, but Jeffrey didn't. Would you like to go? Jeffrey finally asked, and she asked how many other couples are going. She replied, recalling what she had heard during the summer about Jeffrey's bold conduct on dates. Quote, 8 or 9, Keith volunteered. Okay, Alice replied. Okay, so she goes, okay. But Alice, okay, all of the other couples except for Keith and his date dropped out. But Alice went anyway, and she had a wonderful time with Jeffrey. At dusk, Keith and Jeffrey built a fire in a dry creek bed and spread out blankets to sit on. After a few moments, Keith and his date went for a walk. Jeffrey moved closer to Alice. Oh, God. Nervous, she began talking fast. What tumbled out was a jumbled version of her life story. When she finished out, oh my God, hold on. Alice pelted Jeffrey with questions about his past. He was more guarded, but Alice was so persistent that he ended up telling her much more than he intended. He liked her. As the fire crackled and Jeffrey discovered that they had come from much different backgrounds, Alice's family was very poor and his was very well off. I'm going to kind of skip through this, but Alice had very low self-esteem. I've heard another podcast put it that her self-esteem was about that of Eeyore's. Anyways, Jeffrey was very arrogant. Psychologists would later testify that he had one common bond. They had one common bond. They were both desperately searching for someone to love them. Right? Oh my God. So she was born in Independence on January 21st, 1951. She's the oldest of 4 children. Her parents both moved to Independence because they are LDS and believe in the church. And they also believe that that's where Jesus Christ will return and build Zion, a perfect city of peace and beauty. Ralph Keeler had met Donna at the RLDS church service shortly after World War II. They married in 1947, and he went to work as a welder. She stayed at home and raised 4 children. For the first 13 years of her life, what Alice wanted, she generally got. New dresses, new shoes, spending money. It wasn't that Ralph earned a huge salary. He didn't, but both parents put their children's desires first. If there wasn't enough money, Ralph and Donna would scrimp. They would scrimp, sorry, to get it. Alice was very, very, very spoiled as a youngster, Donna recalled later. All my children were. I wanted them that way, really. You see, I wanted them to have all the things I never had. So if they wanted something, we generally did whatever we could to get it for them. Well, my mama was not like that. Donna had been the youngest of 8 children. Ralph was number 8 in a line of 9. Golly. One day in 1964, Ralph felt pain in his right leg. So this is Alice's dad. In his right leg. By nighttime, he had lost all feeling in it. The whole next day, right? Bam. They diagnosed him with multiple sclerosis. It was difficult for him to walk. He was put on disability. Donna, who had never finished high school, was forced to go to work And she was hired as a cook and worked from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m., leaving Alice to run the home. Quote, "It was very difficult for Alice to understand," her mother said. "When she wanted a new dress, I'd tell her, 'I'm sorry, honey, but we can't do that anymore. We can't afford it.' And that made her angry. I think she felt cheated, or she was a brat, and you just needed, you know." Anyways, Alice's role as a surrogate parent often put her at odds with her sisters. Now, get this, okay? Okay. And Linda, if you're in here, listen, Linda. Linda, listen. Uh-huh. I was like, what? So, Uncle Charles, Aunt Terry, and Aunt Susan. That's, anyways, so all they're missing. Okay. Alice's role as a surrogate parent often put her at odds with her sisters, but Susan, Terry, ages 11 and 7, and brother Charles, age 2. I was like, what? Oh my God, you're just missing Uncle Jerry, Uncle Bobby, and my mom. Right? Anyways, she was the nag who demanded that her sisters pick up their clothes, make their beds, do their work, their homework. Susan and Terry were best friends and rough and tough tomboys. Alice was, in the words of her younger siblings, picky and prissy. And Skidmore. I'm sorry. All right. Her escape from the family was the church. That's Lori, Tony. I think the thing that I loved most about church was that they truly welcomed me there. She later told a psychologist, quote, "I was loved and accepted, and I didn't always feel loved and accepted at home. I felt alone and insecure," unquote. Alice had officially become a Latter-day Saint at age 5 in Independence when she was baptized by Carlos Crowson, I guess that's how you say it, who, in the close-knit world of the Mormon Church, happened to be Jeffrey Lundgren's uncle. But it was as a teenager that Alice really became engulfed in religion. She rarely missed a service, participated in every youth activity, and developed a chilling certainty to her beliefs. Obviously not. I'm just gonna. Anyways, while others might doubt Joseph Smith Jr.'s unconventional claims and teachings, Alice didn't. Alice always wanted to be the center of attention. Her sister, Susan Keeler Yates, said later she loved being in the spotlight, and at church she was on center stage. Alice was particularly revered after she told the congregation about her experiences at summer camp and her bedroom bout with the devil. But at home, her sisters and brother viewed Alice's claims with skepticism. Alice lives in her own little fantasy world and always has, brother Charles Keeler says later. When we were growing up, she had her own room and she would go in there and fantasize about this and that. Alice was always looking for some knight in shining armor to come carry her away, he said. Alice's sister, Susan, agreed. Susan says, "I'm not certain Alice knows sometimes the difference between truth and lies." Alice has always been able to convince herself that whatever she wants to believe is the truth and nothing else matters. She was that way about religion and that way about her life. Jeffrey had grown up in the RLDS church just like Alice, but no one had ever prophesied over him, and he had always questioned claims about visions and prophecy. I would sit there on Sundays and people would be in tears talking about the Lord's presence. And this happens to, I've read this all over Reddit and all kinds of places. I would sit there on Sundays and people would be in tears talking about the Lord's presence and his love and all these strange things that they claimed had happened to them. And I would think that something was wrong with me because I felt absolutely nothing and nothing had happened to me like what they were describing. I was stone cold to all this emotional drivel. Jeffrey went to church because it got him out of the house. The order of 2 sons born to Donald and Lois Lundgren. Jeffrey came from a well-pedigreed RLDS family. Lois's parents, Alva and Maud Gadberry, had helped found 2 RLDS congregations in Independence. Alva was a pastor at both. Maud ran the Sunday school programs. On the Lundgren side, it was Donald's mother, Mabel. who was the religious stalwart. She had converted from the Lutheran faith as a young mother and had seen to it that her children rarely missed a service. Mabel later taught Sunday school for 30 years at the Slover, I guess, Park RLDS congregation in Independence. That's kind of hard to say. One of the most prestigious in town. Everyone there called her Grandma Lundy. Don and Lois, that's his parents, they met at church. They married in 1948. Dan rose to the rank of elder, a high ranking post in an RLDS congregation. On, I'm sorry. I can't find my mute button. Okay. Whew. It's hot in here. All right. On most Sundays, he and Lois could be found sitting and holding hands in the sanctuary. While Don and Lois were well known at Slover Park, they were not always well liked. Don was considered too opinionated by some, while Lois was viewed as being flashy. Now, who does this sound like? Too opinionated, Barry, and flashy, Zebra. Okay, zebra print, Janice. In my opinion, I'm just saying. In every church, this is a quote: "In every church, you have your show people who see if they can dress better than anyone else." A church member later explained, quote, "You know the type. If someone shows up in a fur coat one week, they have to have one the next week." That was Lois Lundgren. Appearances were everything to her. This is, yeah. Copy paste. Don had spent his early years in rural South Dakota, where he had learned to hunt and fish, according to his younger sister, Don. Oh, that's his dad. Okay. Mary Bennett had earned a reputation for being a, quote, terror and, quote, bully by the time he had grown into adulthood. Don was no longer a hellion, okay, but he was still seen as a tough guy. His brother-in-law, George Gadberry, said later, Don was a man's man who spoke his mind, stood his ground, and was prepared to back up what he believed. There were two things he often told other church members about which he was fanatical. Don had served in the Navy and was my nose is tickling. Unabashed flag waving patriot. Barry. He also detested slackers. No one had ever given him anything, he was fond of saying. He had earned his own way, had never welched on a debt, and couldn't abide those who did. Unlike the Keelers, Don and Lois were well off financially. Don had started as a construction worker, but had been put in charge of a work crew that installed microwave towers. That sounds unhealthy. For the telephone company. He was a handsome man, well-built, self-assured, the leathery sort that cigarette companies like to feature in advertisements. But the early 1960s, Don was earning $100 a day when the average salary in the nation was $100 per week. When George Gadberry got into financial trouble, operating a formal wear rental shop in Independence, it was Donald who put up the $5,000 to keep the store open. Eventually, he bought out his brother-in-law, put Jeffrey to work there after school and on weekends, and soon had it operating in the black. No one was surprised when Don sold it for a tidy profit. Jeffrey would later joke that the reason his father had to earn a good income was because of his mother's unabashed spending. Lois liked to collect things, and her home was filled with so many knickknacks that it often reminded visitors of a museum. During the first years of their marriage, Lois bought old furniture in secondhand shops and refinished it with a painstaking care. Later, when she could afford it, Lois searched area antique stores and brought home their finest pieces. Each room of the house looked as if it had been arranged to be photographed for display in a magazine. As children, Jeffrey and his brother, Corey, who was nearly 6 years younger, were permitted to sit on the living room sofa only when guests visited. At all other times, they sat on a rug dropped in front of the television. As a young woman, Lois had chestnut hair, ivory skin, and a figure that other girls envied, even when she was a grandmother. Oh, God. She bleached her hair blonde, dressed immaculately, and had a youthful sparkle. Jeffrey would later insist, however, that his mother was a floozy. No, he didn't say that. She was cold toward him. He quote, "My parents were madly in love with each other, so much so that I don't think they had any love left over for me and my brother. I always had to fight for affection, and my parents' love was always conditional." Mm-mm-mm, he charged. It was always used as a reward and taken away as a punishment when I was inadequate. Just saying. Um, I loved playing sports, but there was also a lot of pressure. I was always on stage. When the game ended, my parents would want to know how well I had done. How many hits did I get? And had I embarrassed the family? They were completely success oriented and worried constantly about how the Lundgrens looked in the community. When Jeffrey when Jeffrey played his first basketball game in 6th grade, he scored 7 of the team's 11 points. After the game, his mother, harangued him because of the plopping noise that his feet made when he ran up and down the wooden floor. She was so embarrassed that she made me practice running on my toes in the kitchen while she watched, so I'd learn how to run quietly. Can you imagine? I can't stand watching basketball though because of the noises. There's that. Jeffrey had only one close friend when he was young. Sarah Stotts lived just down the street from the Lundgrens. They first met as toddlers in the church nursery at Slover Park. By the time they were in high school, they had become close friends. We would talk on the phone a couple hours each day after school about what was happening. Sarah remembered it wasn't a boyfriend girlfriend relationship. He just happened to be a boy, and I happened to be a girl. But for me, talking to Jeffrey was just like talking to one of my girlfriends. He seemed to really understand me, and he listened. Oh my God. Both felt awkward around others. Jeff wasn't popular, and neither was I. We were very quiet, but we both wanted to be part of the group at church, so we'd encourage each other. Anyway, so we'd encourage each other. I'd say, "Okay, I'll play volleyball if you'll play it," and he'd say, "I'll try this if you'll try this." Oh, bet she's so glad that she didn't meet him later in life. Okay. Sarah didn't have a happy home life, and she didn't think he did either. Jeff never felt that he was good enough for his father. He didn't think he could please him. Jeffrey would later reiterate that same feeling of inadequacy to a psychologist. No matter what I did, I never felt I was man enough for him. I always wanted an "I love you," but what I got was male on male competition. We would play burnout. I'd throw a hard ball as hard as I could for him to catch, and he'd throw it back to me. I used to endure the pain when I was 7 or 8 just because I wanted to be with him. I can still remember one of the best moments in my life when I was a freshman in high school and I became strong enough to hurt him when I threw the ball back. Okay. At William Chrisman High School, at William Chrisman High School in Independence, Jeffrey excelled as shortstop on the baseball team. He lifted weights every day, and by his senior year, he could throw a pitch close to 100 miles per hour. But other students considered him a geek. Here was this guy who wanted to be liked and was shy and afraid to participate, yet when he opened his mouth, he was a know-it-all, recalled a classmate. You felt sorry for him until you started talking to him. Then you realized that he was arrogant. No one really liked him. Jeffrey didn't have a date to the senior prom, so he asked Sarah to go with him. All right, when she suggested that he invite someone he was interested in romantically, Jeffrey appeared hurt. I don't like anyone but you, he told her. Jeffrey's graduation picture in 1968 high school yearbook stuck out. Other boys in the class were shown wearing long hair. A few brandished peace symbols. Most were smiling, clearly eager to get on with their lives. And then there was Jeffrey, his haircut in a 1950s buzz. Chad talks about the same thing. Yeah. Dressed in a crisp white shirt. Okay. Narrow tie and jacket. Completely out of step with his classmates. But it was the expression on his face that caught the eye. His uncle George Gadbury would later remember how one day when he was cleaning out a desk drawer, he had come across several school pictures of Jeffrey that had been taken as the boy moved up through the various grades. Quote, Jeff was never smiling. He never seemed very happy as a boy, unquote. The photographs chronicled a boy who seemed to be angry and bitter inside. During their picnic at Keith Johnson's farm, Jeffrey told Alice how he had played shortstop in high school and briefly mentioned his parents. But the only comment that she would later recall as odd was something Jeffrey said jokingly, or at least it sounded as if he were kidding. Quote, my mother is not going to like your name, unquote. He told Alice, quote, she'll think it is much too plain, unquote. Alice didn't respond. That's like Lori saying, Jesus loves you, but he loves me more. Oh, God. Um, okay, Donna, if you can, I'm getting lighted. Alice didn't respond. She was having too good of a time. Jeffrey was a perfect gentleman. He didn't even try to kiss her. After Keith and his date returned, the four of them drove back to campus, and Jeffrey escorted Alice to the front stoop of the women's dormitory. He politely asked if he could kiss her goodnight. Alice nodded. A few minutes later, Alice was upstairs in her room when she heard her telephone ring in the hall outside of her door. There was only one telephone on the entire floor, and Alice's room was the closest to it. She hurried out. Okay, so she answered the damn phone. All that to answer the phone. The afternoon with him, Jeffrey wanted to know if she wanted to spend the afternoon with him, and he wanted to know what time she was getting up in the morning. She asked him why. He said, because I wanted to wait outside to carry your books. She says, oh, Jeffrey, you don't have to do that. And he says, I plan to walk you to every one of your classes tomorrow, he said firmly. Oh, I hear you. I'll finish this little page. They chatted for a few minutes and then Alice went to bed. The next morning, when Alice stepped outside the dormitory, Jeffrey was waiting. Mm-mm. At
Sounds
the,
wonderful.
at the time, she thought it was simply, okay, I'm done. Do I need to turn the page for you?
Probably. Let's see. Okay.
Sorry, y'all.
Chapter 2. The Mormon religion that Jeffrey and Alice learned as children was particularly American and unlike any other sect. Its founders, Joseph Smith Jr., claimed he had a vision in 1820 at the age of 15 while living with his parents on a farm in Palmyra, New York, about 30 miles east of Rochester. At the time, Western New York was on the verge of what later would be known as the Second Great Awakening, a religious revival marked by impassioned conversions and a sensational Elmer Gantry style tent meetings. So many Methodist circuit riders, itinerant Baptist preachers, self proclaimed evangelists swarmed into the western New York state that was soon nicknamed the burned over district because of the hellfire and brimstone preached there. Amid their fervor, young Joseph was trying to decide, as he wrote later, who of all those parties are right? Or are they all wrong together? Smith's question was answered only one day while he was praying alone in the woods. A pillar of light fell down upon him. He later said, and God and Jesus Christ appeared. It was Jesus who told him that the existing churches were all wrong and that their creeds were an abomination in his sight. Christ ordered Smith not to join any of those denominations, but to continue to pray for guidance. 3 years later, Smith was saying his nightly prayers in his bedroom. An angel named Moroni appeared. The angel said that 1,400 years earlier, when he was still mortal man, he had hidden a book made of golden plates in a stone box about 3 miles from the Smith's farm. The plates contained the history of the band of ancient Hebrews who had traveled from Jerusalem to the New World before the birth of Christ. These Hebrews had settled the Americas and were the forefathers of the Indians. Their history was nothing less than a volume of Holy Scriptures that God now wanted brought forth so that the fullness of everlasting gospel could be known. She's got the fullness of the gospel, and it's got the 2 L's there. Smith found the plates exactly where the angel had told him to look, but Moroni wouldn't let him take them from their hiding place. During the next 3 years, Moroni steadfastly refused to surrender the plates. But on September 22nd, y'all, September 22nd, 1827, the angel relented. Along with the plates, Smith was giving 2 magical stones called a Urim and a Thummim. They were needed to translate the ancient writings into English. Smith wanted to translate the plates immediately, but he was broke by this time. He had a family to support. He contacted a wealthy farmer, Martin Harris, and asked him to help. Harris was intrigued by Smith's story about Moroni, but when the farmer mentioned it to his wife, she suspected a scam and demanded proof that the plates were genuine. Harris asked Smith to show him the plates. Smith politely refused. Moroni had instructed him not to show them to anyone, he explained, but he gave Harris a sheet of paper that contained strange markings, which Smith said he had copied directly from the golden plates. Harris gave Smith $50 and rushed the paper to Charles Anton, a Columbia College classic scholar familiar with ancient writings. Anton studied the markings and pronounced them fake. A dejected Harris returned home where Smith was waiting with a ready explanation. Engraving the golden plates had been such a tedious process that the ancient Hebrew prophet and historians who compiled the records had developed his own form of shorthand to save time and space. Smith identified the author as Mormon, who happened to be Moroni's father. He said that Mormon had transcribed the golden plates in a reformed Egyptian, a dialect that only Smith could read. Harris agreed to help bankroll Smith's venture and also offered to aid in translating the plates. Exactly how this was done is unclear. One historical account said that Smith placed the Urim and Thummim into a hat and buried his face in the hat and then covered it with a blanket and dictated to a scribe what he saw. Other stories said that Smith wore the Urim and Thummim in his eyeglasses and held the plates in his lap and read them aloud to Harris from behind a screen. Regardless, by 1830, the translation was finished. Smith called it the Book of Mormon, and on March 26, a local Palmyra printer, Edbert Grandin, published 5,000 copies of it. The $3,000 printing bill was paid by Harris, who had become such an ardent supporter of Smith that he mortgaged his farm to raise the necessary cash, while Smith's
Okay,
golden
I'm sorry, my internet just freaked out, so I couldn't see anything. I'm sorry.
Golden Bible caused an immediate stir. It didn't sit well with Harris, and he lost his farm. From the moment it was published, the Book of Mormon came under attack. Scholars pointing out that it described animals and plants in the New World that didn't exist in North and Central America until after the Spanish and Egyptian explorers arrived. Prophets who had lived decades before Jesus Christ was born were quoted talking about Christ's death on a cross as if it had already happened. The fact that Smith couldn't produce the golden plates didn't help his credibility. The angel Moroni had reappeared, Smith said, and taken them back. Smith's local reputation also raised suspicions. 4 years earlier, he had been convicted in Chenango County, New York, of accepting money from a farmer in return for finding buried treasure with a peepstone, a native crystal much like those used by fortune tellers. The court had declared Smith disorderly and an impostor. Not everyone, however, was skeptical. Written much like the Bible, the Book of Mormon was filled with inspirational stories about religious heroes. It contained detailed descriptions of military battles and a slew of commandments that seemed to clarify statements by Jesus and others in the Bible. Most of all, it promised those who believed in it a chance to reign over the earth with Jesus Christ. Smith taught that Christ was on the verge of returning to the earth where he would judge every man, woman, and child. Christ would then rule the earth with a select few for a period of 1,000 years, known as the millennium. Those who joined Smith's church during those last days on earth were the saints of the latter days. He said that they would be the ones whom Christ would choose to rule with him over everyone else. On April 6, 1830, Smith and 6 other men officially incorporated, they made a business, incorporated a new religion, which they called Church of Christ. At the time, Smith was only 24 years old. He boldly declared that his new church was the only true church in the world. A short time later, Smith renamed his church to emphasize his teaching about the latter days. He called it the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Anyone who didn't accept the Book of Mormon was a Gentile and was automatically doomed. Besides offering his followers a New Testament, Smith also taught that God played an active role in the lives of his saints. Smith's God hadn't changed much from the one described in the Old Testament. He still sent prophets to direct his people through revelations and his spirit. Smith claimed that God had chosen him to be his church's first prophet and seer and revelator. Despite such grandiose claims, Smith's church got off to a sluggish start in New York. Few joined, but shortly after the Book of Mormon was published, one of Smith's converts delivered a copy to Sidney Rigdon, one of the most influential preachers of the time. Rigdon would eventually fall from favor in Mormon circles, and he relegated to a footnote in the church's archives, but he was far more charismatic than Smith. The bushy-haired, bearded, barrel-chested Rigdon could keep a congregation in trance for hours with his oratory. Even hardened men had been known to burst into tears at his services. Rigdon had already been a minister in 2 other denominations when he began reading Smith's New Testament. Overnight, Rigdon was converted. Like Smith, Rigdon believed that the millennium was imminent. He also believed that only a prophet who had been selected by God could have brought forth the Book of Mormon. Rigdon lived in Kirtland, Ohio, and during his first 30 days as a Mormon convert, he baptized 126 people into the new religion. Back in New York, Smith had attracted a following of less than half that number. In December 1830, Rigdon rode his horse to New York to meet the self-proclaimed prophet and tell him of the budding Mormon movement in Kirtland. Smith was so thrilled by Rigdon's success that he invited him to spend the night in his home. The next morning, Smith said that God had spoken to him during the night. Just as John the Baptist had prepared the way for Christ, God wanted Rigdon to prepare the way for Smith. He announced that he and his family would be moving to Kirtland, and he commanded all faithful Mormons to follow him there. At the time, Kirtland boasted a population of 1,020, mostly former New Englanders. It had a few rooming houses, 2 churches, and a mill. The richest citizen was Newell K. Whitney, owner of the general store, one of Rigdon's recent Mormon converts. Smith immediately moved into the Whitney's home and lived there until his followers built his family their own house. Once Smith was settled, he said that God had commanded him to rewrite the Holy Bible. Over time, had been filled with errors because of sloppy translators and wicked church leaders, he explained. God had told him to publish an inspired version for the saints to use. During the coming months, Rigdon and Smith recruited more and more converts, eventually developing a following of 500 in Kirtland area. Smith also began having almost daily revelations. Some dealt with minor events. When Smith and Rigdon tipped over a canoe and almost drowned in the river, God revealed that he no longer wanted his prophet and Rigdon to travel on water unless it was on a man-made canal. Other revelation came sweeping theological announcements. One of the most important dealt with Zion. Smith said that God wanted the Mormons to gather together and establish Zion, a perfect community of love and trust where they would wait for Christ's return. Even though Kirtland had become the church's stronghold, the prophet said that God had designated Independence, Missouri, as the site of his New Jerusalem. That was where Christ would eventually return. On August 3rd, 1831, Smith, Rigdon, and other Mormon leaders held a dedication service in Independence at the center spot where Zion was to be built. Most of the land in Independence, however, was owned by Gentiles who didn't want anything to do with Smith and his religion. When Mormons began moving to Missouri, the Gentiles there turned hostile. One night, a mob tarred and feathered the Mormon bishop and forced other saints to flee at gunpoint. Faced with growing hatred in Missouri, Smith decided that the saints would remain in Kirtland a short while longer. He announced that God wanted his saints to build a temple in Kirtland as a demonstration of their love and faith. Construction of the house of the Lord began June 5th, 1833. It was Rigdon who became the driving force behind it. Church historians would later write that Rigdon had wet the walls with his tears by coming to the construction site daily, offering emotional prayers there. Although the fledgling church had little money, the Mormons managed to construct what then was the tallest temple in Ohio. As a show of devotion, women donated their finest china to the church. It was crushed and mixed in with the exterior plaster so that the walls would sparkle when hit with sunlight. At the dedication in 1836, Rigdon gave a 2-hour sermon. Smith spoke too, blessing the building. Some of the saints at this service later claimed that the angel had appeared standing next to Smith when he spoke. 1 week later, Smith announced that while he was praying in the temple, Christ appeared. followed by Moses and Elijah. Christ appeared in the temple already, brand new temple. Although Mormons were prospering in Kirtland, they still were having trouble in Independence. On February 24th, 1834, a mob attacked Mormon settlers. When the word reached Kirtland, Smith made an angry declaration. God, he said, had promised to one day send a prophet to lead the saints against their enemies and redeem Zion. I will raise up unto my people a man who shall lead them like Moses led the children of Israel. Smith quoted God as saying, there are conflicting stories about what happened next in Kirtland. The official church version says that the cost of constructing the temple put the Mormons heavily in debt. The completion of the temple also frightened Gentiles who feared the Mormons were becoming too strong. Anti-Mormons called for a boycott of the Saint stores. Gentile bankers stopped making loans to Mormon families. Smith responded by opening up his own bank for the Mormons, called the Kirtland Safety Society Bank. The Saints were told that God expected them to exchange gold and silver for paper notes printed by the bank. Unfortunately, the Mormon bank went belly up during a national bank panic in 1837, and Smith and Rigdon were forced to leave Kirtland when angry Gentiles threatened legal action. A less flattering account is told in the records at the Lake County Deeds Office and the Old County Courts documents. According to these records, Smith began buying large tracts of land, apparently in the hopes that the railroad would run a line over the property and make him rich. When Smith ran out of places to borrow money, he opened up a Mormon bank and used the deposits as if they were his own. To ease any qualms the Mormons might have about exchanging gold and silver for banknotes, Smith put in several strong boxes filled with silver coins on display in the main lobby. It wasn't until later courts revealed that the Mormon depositors learned that the strong boxes were filled with sand and only the top layer had been made of shiny 50-cent pieces. When the bank went bust, Smith and Rigdon fled town at night to avoid furious creditors. Whatever version is true, Smith moved his church first to Missouri settlement that he called Far West, located north of Independence, and then later to Hancock County, Illinois, where he established his own town, which he named Nauvoo. Once Smith and Rigdon left Ohio, Rigdon was standing. His standing began to slip. When Rigdon's daughter accused Smith of locking her in a room and demanding that she have sex with him because God had ordered it, Rigdon's relationship with Smith was ruptured even more. Imagine that. 7 years after the two men fled Kirtland, Joseph Smith Jr. and his brother Hyman were murdered by a mob in Carthage, Illinois. Their deaths left the Mormon church without a leader. Rigdon argued that he should be in charge, but he no longer had enough clout to declare himself the new prophet. He was excommunicated and returned to his native Pennsylvania, penniless. The saint who stepped into Smith's shoes was Brigham Young, charismatic, determined man who led the biggest block of Mormons on the difficult trek westward to Salt Lake City, Utah. Not everyone followed Young, however. A small faction of saints stayed behind in Independence, where they chose Smith's eldest son, Joseph Smith III, to head the church. Because he was only 11 at the time, his mother, Emma, took control. Over time, the Mormons in Utah grew into a worldwide church of 7 million members with a tremendous wealth, power, and prestige. The saints who stayed behind in Independence renamed themselves the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Unlike their better-known Utah counterparts, the RLDS never attracted more than 250,000 members, and its members were so poor that until recently they couldn't afford to build a temple of their own in independence. Besides wealth and membership, the two Mormon sects differ in their religious teachings. One point of contention was Smith's 1834 declaration that God would someday raise up a leader like Moses who would redeem Zion. Many Utah saints felt Brigham Young had fulfilled that prophecy. Young, they argued, had successfully led the saints out of bondage in Missouri into a new promised land of Utah where he had redeemed Zion. But such talk was hearsay to the saints of Missouri. They considered Young a false prophet. Zion was supposed to be built in Independence, not Salt Lake City, they argued. For many in the RLDS, the 1834 promise had never been fulfilled. They were still waiting for God to send them a prophet. Alice was among those RLDS members who was eagerly awaiting a new Moses. In the fall of 1969, she was more confident than ever that Smith's 1834 revelation was about to come true. After all, one of the church's patriarchs had told her that during the summer camp that their generation would establish Zion, and that could only mean one thing. God was planning to raise up a prophet in her lifetime. The patriarch had also revealed that Alice's husband was going to help prepare the way for Christ's return. She had carefully memorized the patriarch's words. You shall marry a companion whom I have prepared to bring forth my kingdom, and he shall be great in the eyes of the people, and shall do much good unto the children of the men, for I have prepared him to bring forth a marvelous work and wonder. After her first date with Jeffrey, Alice began to wonder, could he be the man whom God has chosen to be her husband? Was Jeffrey the one who would help bring forth God's kingdom? The very thought made her tingle.
Oh my goodness.
I'm tingling now.
I'm tingling too. Where's some tingles? Oh my goodness. Okay, so you want me to take over?
You can take over and I'll get a drink.
Okay, I cooled off for a little bit. I actually got it a little chilly. Okay, so next, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like some poignant points, but you know. Anyways, chapter 3. A long-stemmed rose arrived every day during the first week. Jeffrey was waiting outside the women's dormitory each morning to carry Alice's books. He was there for after every class. If Alice needed to go to the library, the school cafeteria, the gymnasium, Jeffrey would escort her. Everything that he did revolved around Alice. Even after Alice had gone into the dormitory at night, he would call her. What are you going to wear tomorrow? He'd ask. I don't know yet, Alice would reply. Haven't decided yet. Or haven't decided. I think you should wear that blue outfit, he'd volunteer. You look beautiful in it. Okay, she'd say. They'd talk for a while, and then he'd tell her, say, you'd better get to sleep. Go to bed right now. Oh my God. Anyways, Alice would hang up the telephone, get her blue outfit ready to wear, and go to bed. The next morning, he would be waiting outside and would compliment her. There was only one time that he upset her. He had suggested that she wear a white blouse and black skirt the next morning, but she forgot and chose something else. He didn't speak to her when they walked together to her first class. What a douche. What's wrong? She asked later. He said, I'm just disappointed. I asked you to wear the blouse and skirt. I thought you'd agree. Once Alice was sitting in her freshman chemistry class when she felt as if someone were staring at her. She glanced over at the door and spotted Jeffrey watching her through a tiny window. Creep. 10 minutes later, she looked over again and he was still there, staring at her. Just staring at her. Alice loved the attention. He's fascinating. He's handsome. He's athletic, she said. or she confided to a schoolmate. He is everything that I have ever thought the perfect man should be, and he is crazy about me. He's crazy for sure. One week after their first date, Jeffrey and Alice went on a hayride sponsored by the RLDS run student union. During the ride, Alice looked at Jeffrey and he began to say something, but stopped. "What you gonna do?" she asked teasingly. "Ask me to marry you?" He continued to stare at her. "Yes," he replied solemnly. "I want you to be my wife." Alice smirked, and then she realized that he was being serious. "If you promise to fall in love with me, I will," she said. I already am in love with you, Alice," he said. In 1969, women could get married at age 18 without parental consent in Missouri, but men had to be 21. Okay. Uh, okay. Jeffrey was 19 and he knew his parents would not approve. They wanted him to finish college. He was worried that Don and Lois were not going to like Alice. She was poor and had no status within the church. "We'll have to figure out some way to get my parents' permission," he told her. Alice would later tell psychologists that as soon as she and Jeff agreed that they were going to get married, he began to pressure her for sex. Despite her religious training, she didn't resist. Did it really matter? After all, they had planned to get married. "It was as if I had opened the floodgates," Alice later confided to a friend. "All Jeff ever wanted to do was have sex, sex, sex." It was so contrary to my upbringing that I felt very ashamed. I felt dirty. But to him, it was a sign that I loved him. "If you love me, you'll do this," he said. And I wanted him to love me. When the Thanksgiving school break arrived, Jeffrey asked Alice to come to Independence to meet his family. Alice was terrified. Jeffrey's descriptions of Don and Lois didn't put her at ease. "Don't be surprised if if my father makes faces at you during the meal," Jeffrey said as they pulled into the driveway at his parents' home on Thanksgiving Day. "What?" she replied. "He's been practicing making faces at you so he can do it during the meal." Okay. She thought he was joking. Quote, "Alice, they don't think you're good enough for me." What a douche. Unquote. He said coldly. "They think you want to marry me because of their money." Oh, God. Alice was about to cry. All during the meal, she stared at her plate. She was afraid to look at Don because she thought he might make a face at her. She was afraid to compliment Lois on her decorating skills because she might think all Alice cared about was her possessions. Don and Lois were both gracious during the meal. They were friendly to her, but she was too scared to speak. Afterward, she and Jeffrey went to see the movie Romeo and Juliet. Alice spent most of the time in the ladies' room throwing up. Jeffrey got called into the Dean of Students' office when college resumed. He had spent so much time escorting Alice around the campus that he had missed most of his own classes. If he didn't stop cutting class, he would be put on academic suspension. "You'd better tell Jeffrey to study for the final," a friend told Alice. "You know, he's never even been to class." Alice was shocked. She had never asked him about his grades. When she confronted him the next day, Jeffrey lied. "I'm going to class," he said. "It's just that no one sees me." Okay. Hey, Lord. He told Alice that after he walked her Jeffrey added, "I'm majoring in Alice. It doesn't matter if I go to class." Well, he just told himself right there. Anyways, majored in Alice. Anyways, Jeffrey's grades weren't the only ones that had dropped. Alice's began slipping. There just wasn't enough time during the day for her to study. Jeffrey loved to play table tennis and he wanted Alice to watch him. He had taught her how to play too. And together they had won the school's doubles championship. Although Alice joked that her major contribution was jumping out of Jeff's way when he charged for the ping pong ball. I love playing table tennis. Foosball. Anyways, She had never met anyone as competitive as Jeffrey, nor anyone who hated to lose as much as he did. Ugh, I don't like them kind of people either. The semester passed quickly, and it was soon time for the Christmas holidays. Jeffrey failed every one of his classes. He was told that he couldn't come back for the spring semester. Alice panicked. She knew that Jeffrey was going to lose his draft deferment. Even if he didn't, even if he didn't get called up right away, he would still have to move back to Independence and live with his parents. Alice telephoned her mother. "We've got to get married," she said. "We can't wait." "If you truly love each other, then you'll still love each other in a few years after you finish college," Donna insisted. Alice wasn't certain. What she didn't and couldn't tell her mother was that sex had become a big part of her relationship with Jeffrey, and that she was afraid he might break off their relationship if they spent time apart. "Sometimes I think the only reason Jeff wants to be with me is because of sex," she told a friend. "I don't know what he'd do if I ever told him no," Alice returned to Odessa at Christmas, afraid that she might lose Jeffrey for good. In Independence, Jeffrey telephoned Sarah Stotts over the holidays. She was coming home from Graceland College, a small school in Lamoni, Iowa. See, over here, we call it Iowa. We have a little town. It's Iowa. Weird, huh? Anyway, sponsored by the RLDS Church. When Jeffrey dropped by Sarah's house to visit, he was surprised. "I had decided to change my image when I went away to Graceland," Sarah said. "No one there knew that I was shy and scared to death, so I jumped right in and decided to overcome my fears, and it worked." Sarah had turned into an outgoing, self-confident woman. After telling Jeffrey about Graceland, Sarah asked him what was happening in his life. Jeffrey was quiet, and then he told her that he wanted to ask her an important question. "I need to know if there's any chance at all of us getting together, romantically," he asked. "What?" "Is there any chance that we might end up getting together someday?" he said. "Getting married?" "I don't think so," Sarah said. "Well, how about if I kiss you one time? Or kiss me one time?" Jeffrey continued. Sarah agreed. Okay. But when Jeffrey leaned over to kiss her, she burst out laughing. "I guess it wouldn't work," he said. "The reason I had to know was because if I can't have you, I guess I will marry someone else who is as close to you as possible." Oh, whoa. Okay. God complex. Sarah stopped laughing. She hadn't realized that he felt as strongly as he did about her. More than 2 decades later, Sarah would still remember what Jeffrey said that night. "Jeff told me that Alice was pressuring him to get pregnant because she had a bad home life and she wanted to get out of the house, to get married. I told Jeff that he really needed to be careful or he was going to get into something that he didn't need to get into. And he said it didn't matter." "What do you mean it won't matter?" she asked. "If I can't have you, I'll marry Alice. But if you and Alice and I were all 3 in a boat, I wouldn't ask that." "No. And that was sinking, and I could only save one of you. I would save you first. And if I had a chance, I'd go back and save Alice because I do love Alice. But if it came down to choosing between you and Alice, I'd save you first." "Jeff," Sarah said, "if you really feel that way, you shouldn't be even talking about getting married. You shouldn't be rushing into this." Sarah would later recall that conversation with confusion and sorrow. "I remember thinking that I had gone away to college and had changed. I had overcome my insecurity, but I don't think Jeff had ever gotten to the point where he really believed in himself. I think he was looking for someone to love him and tell him that he was worth loving." Jeffrey invited Alice to his house on Christmas Day, but she felt self-conscious when she got there. She had brought gifts for the Lundgrens, but no one had bought her anything. That's pretty shitty. Anyways, when she and Jeff had a chance to talk in private, she asked if he had told his mom and dad that they wanted to get married. He avoided answering her. A few weeks after the spring semester started at CMSU, Jeffrey and Alice drove to Odessa to talk to her parents. they had thought of a way to force Don and Lois to give their consent. This is how Donna then misspelled it, Keeler remembers what happened. We were sitting around the kitchen table when Alice and Jeffrey asked us if we would tell Jeff's parents that Alice was pregnant. Oh my God. I immediately asked her if she was, and Alice said no. But they wanted us to lie to Don and Lois so they would have to agree to the marriage. I'm not going to lie for you, Donna told Jeffrey and Alice. That's no way to start a marriage. A month later, Jeffrey and Alice returned to talk to Donna and Ralph. This time, Alice said no one was going to have to lie. Oh, baby. Jeffrey called his parents from the Keeler's kitchen and broke the news. Don and Lois were furious. Jeffrey asked Donna and Ralph if they'd go with him and Alice to face his parents. Don led everyone into the family room where he had lined up 6 chairs. He and Lois had never met Ralph and Donna before. I have something to say, he announced. And for the next several minutes, he blistered Jeffrey. Oh my gosh. My dad said I had embarrassed the entire family, that I had ruined the Lundgren name, that he and my mom were so embarrassed by what I had done that they couldn't show their faces at the Slover Park congregation. Then he turned and looked at me and said, it is a great sorrow to me that my first child has to be born a bastard. I'm a bastard. Anyways, during the next few minutes, Lois and Donna argued. Lois claimed Alice had trapped Jeffrey. Lois, oh God. Anyways. Oh, just nothing's ever their fault. Nobody ever is held accountable. Room. He packed a few things and left with Alice and her parents. The next day was Sunday, and everyone cooled off. One Monday morning, Jeffrey, Alice, and Donna drove to the Independence Courthouse to get a wedding license. Don and Lois had agreed to give their consent as long as Jeffrey and Alice promised not to have a big church wedding. That's pitiful. Lori. Lois was waiting at the courthouse, but she told Jeffrey that she wanted to talk to him privately before they went inside. She led him to her car where his grandparents, Alva and Maud Gadberry, were waiting. For several minutes, Lois and the Gadberrys explained to Jeffrey all the reasons why he didn't need to marry Alice. Jeffrey would later tell Alice that his mother had upped the ante. She offered to pay me off. If I would denounce you and walk away. On May 5th, 1970, Jeffrey and Alice were married at the RLDS church in Odessa. Jeffrey didn't tell his parents the time, date, or location because he was afraid they might disrupt the ceremony. Sounds like Lori. Just to make certain that none of the Lundgrens showed up, Jeffrey had 2 of Alice's relatives stand guard at the front door. The church pews on the left side of the sanctuary, traditionally reserved for the friends and relatives of the bride, were packed with guests. The pews on the groom's side were completely empty except for one person, Jeffrey's college pal, Keith Johnson. You'll want to remember him. He came to wish him well. Jeffrey didn't have enough money to rent a tuxedo. Donna and Ralph paid for it and slipped him another $600 from their savings account to pay for the honeymoon. Excuse me. Jeffrey borrowed the Keeler's car and drove his new bride to Arlington, Texas, where I was going to say Six Flags, where they checked into a hotel near the Six Flags over Texas amusement park. He had been there with his parents, and he figured Alice would enjoy the rides. He had booked a room in the same hotel that he had stayed in with his mom and dad. The morning after their wedding, Jeffrey and Alice arrived at the park early. Jeffrey wanted to spend as much time as possible on the rides. But when they got to the park, Alice's stomach was upset. It was morning sickness. Jeffrey took Alice back to their hotel, but he soon became jittery. He had already paid for 2 all-day passes, and there wasn't much point in their both being stuck in the hotel. Oh my God. What douche. I want to say the D-I-C-K word. Anyways, yeah, so he kissed her on the forehead and left for the park. He would be back when it closed. Wow. As soon as he shut the door to the room, Alice began to cry. She couldn't believe that Jeffrey had left her alone on their honeymoon. What had happened to the obsessed college boy who had sent her a long stemmed rose each day for a week? I'll tell you what it was. It was that thunderstorm. Thunderstruck! Anyways, I don't know when to stop. Uh, so, right about this time is whenever, okay, no, I'll just go. Marriage had seemed so simple when Jeffrey and Alice first fell in love, but that was before Jeffrey flunked out of school and before Don and Lois stopped paying for his room and board. When the newlyweds returned from their honeymoon in May of 1970, they had no car, no money, no jobs, and no place to live. Plus, she was pregnant. Donna Keeler came to the rescue. Jeffrey and Alice could live with her and Ralph rent-free in Odessa until they could afford a place of their own. Jeffrey knew he was going to be drafted. It was a terrible time to be inducted into the Army. By January of 1970, some 40,000 Americans had already been killed in Vietnam. 10,000 of them had died. Oh my God. During 1969 alone. And even though Henry Kissinger had secretly begun negotiating an end to the war, let me clear my throat. Sorry. Some of the most intense fighting still lay ahead. Jeffrey decided to enlist in the Navy under a delayed entry program that didn't require him to report until late 1970. Donna had always said that no household was big enough for two families, and between May and November, her axiom proved painfully accurate. What bothered Donna was Jeffrey's selfishness. He was fairly good at pitching in with household chores, but he refused to share. Whenever Jeffrey earned a few dollars doing odd jobs, he'd immediately spend it on himself without offering to chip in for groceries, gasoline, or other costs at the Keeler house. Some nights, Jeffrey would bring home a large pizza, but rather than sharing it, he would scurry into his bedroom with Alice and shut the door so that they could eat in private. Jeffrey's between-meal snacking also irked the Keelers. 3 or 4 times a week, he would buy a liter of Pepsi and frozen chocolate chip cookie dough. After taking a few sips of the Pepsi, he would cut off the top of the plastic bottle and fill the container with ice, making it into a giant cup. He would drink the entire liter as he ate the raw dough. Okay. There were other problems too. Jeffrey would borrow Donna's car at night so he could take Alice on rides. Donna understood how the young couple might want to get away. But when Donna got up early the next morning to leave for work, she would always find her gas gauge registering empty. Jeffrey never thought to fill the tank. He didn't seem to care about anyone but himself. When Jeffrey left on November 8th for Navy training at San Diego, California, only Alice was sorry to see him go. Their baby was due any day, and she wanted Jeffrey at the hospital with her. 3 weeks after he left, Alice gave birth to Damon. That's the name. Damon Paul Lundgren. She called Jeffrey and told him they had a son. The arrival of a baby at the Keeler household caused new friction between Alice and her 2 sisters. Alice always claimed that she was too tired to get up at night, so Sue and I got out of bed to take care of Damon. Got him a bottle or whatever. Terry remembered later. My mom was working nights, so she wasn't home and didn't know what we were doing. Whatever. All the work at night. That we were doing all the work at night. We were gone to school by the time she got home. We all found out later that Alice was telling our mother that she had been the one who was up all night. They are both jerks. She'd say she was exhausted, and our mother would end up taking care of Damon all day long. That was typical of Alice. She liked to get other people to do her work. Boy, that's Lori right there. Bam. Anyways, Jeffrey was permitted to come home over the Christmas holidays. When he finally got back to Odessa on February 13th, 1971, he told Alice that he had 2 big surprises for her. Alice had bought Jeffrey a mushy Valentine card, and she immediately suspected that he had bought her something special to celebrate her first Valentine's Day as a married couple. I doubt it. Okay, she said excitedly. Tell me, tell me. I've been studying the scriptures, he announced. Go ahead, say a verse. I bet I can tell you where it's located. Alice didn't know what to say. Come on, Alice, he pushed. Test me. Just name one. All Alice could think of was a well-known verse from the Book of Mormon. Jeffrey beamed when he named its location. I want to impress her, Jeffrey remembered years later. The scriptures were very precious to Alice, and I wanted to show her how much I had learned. At that time, she knew the scriptures much better than I did, and she was always harping about them, so I had decided to study them for her. Still expecting a Valentine present, Alice urged Jeffrey to tell her his second surprise. My father has agreed to bless Damon. It's all arranged. While in San Diego, Jeffrey had written to Don and Lois and asked his father if he would perform a blessing, a major event in the Mormon church. Jeffrey hadn't bothered to consult Alice or her parents. Instead, he and his parents had chosen a time, date, and place for the ceremony. Is there anything else? She asked. Jeffrey didn't know what she meant. Without uttering another word, she handed Jeffrey the Valentine card. He opened it and blushed. Alice, he stammered, I was so busy I didn't have a chance to buy you one. The next weekend, Jeffrey and Alice took Damon to Independence to meet his grandparents. Don scooped up Damon in his arms. Lois wasn't as friendly. Neither of them acknowledged Alice. The afternoon went well as far as Jeffrey was concerned, and Don and Lois asked them to stay for dinner. By the time it was over, Jeffrey was telling his father all about the Navy while Lois rocked Damon. I was a non-person, Alice complained on the ride back to Odessa. I was invisible, like I wasn't even there. I never want to go back to their house again. Damon's blessing was scheduled for the following Sunday at the Slover Park congregation. The Killers drove to Independence with Jeffrey, Alice, and Damon. It was a beautiful ceremony. Damon was carried to the front of the sanctuary during the regular church service. Don held him and said a blessing. He had spent hours preparing it, and after he finished, my goodness, some in the congregation were wiping tears from their eyes. Don and Lois invited friends to their house after church. Ralph and Donna were noticeably absent. Alice reluctantly tagged along. When she arrived, her mother-in-law was waiting. Lois threw her arms around Alice and gave her a hug. All of the anger and hatred she had felt towards Alice had melted away. During Don's blessing of Damon, she explained, Alice was no longer a ghost. She was family. Lois began introducing Alice to her friends as her new daughter. Jeffrey had to return to San Diego a few days later. Alice and Damon moved to California with him. Jeffrey was assigned to work as an electrical repairman on the USS Sperry, a supply delivery and repair ship that serviced submarines, but it wasn't scheduled to leave San Diego Harbor for several months, so he was temporarily assigned to work as a lifeguard at a base swimming pool. Oh, my nose itches. Nearly every day, Alice and Damon would go to the pool with him. He and Alice would play badminton, sunbathe, and gossip about how the wives of other sailors flirted with men at the pool. I'd punch him. We both felt out of place in San Diego, Jeffrey later said. It was just too wild for us. We weren't ready for the California lifestyle. A fellow crew member invited them to a party one night, but when they got there, everyone was smoking some marijuana. Jeffrey was afraid the police would arrive at any second, so he and Alice quickly excused themselves and hurried home. Alice would later describe that summer as one of the happiest periods in her marriage, yet there were problems. Jeffrey earned less than $200 per month, and the monthly rent for their off-base apartment was $105. They could have lived in military housing for less, but Jeffrey didn't like having his coworkers as neighbors. Pride, man. Oh my God. Even if they had spent their money frugally, they would have had a tough time. but neither tried to budget or save. Jeffrey continued to snack on Pepsi and cookie dough. Alice hated to cook, preferring to eat out. They sounds like they have yeah, shit in one hand. Wait, you know what I mean? They both called their parents at various times and asked for cash. Nearly every month they ran out of food. When that happened, Jeffrey would go over to the ship and raid its galley. He'd smuggle some bread and sandwich fixings out to Alice, who waited in the car. Besides money, sex was becoming a problem. Uh-oh, we're starting to get into poo-poo territory. Alice wasn't warm sexually after we got married. Jeffrey later complained she felt guilty because she had gotten pregnant before we were married. Y'all got pregnant, in my opinion. She started getting these migraine headaches. I was very frustrated and I told her that she simply wasn't satisfying me. Mm. Alice later blamed Jeffrey for their sexual problems. Jeffrey was fixated on sex. I'm not going to say it that many times. That was all he thought about and all he wanted to do. He'd do it several times a day if I'd let him. And when we did it, he just wanted to satisfy himself. He did not care about me and my feelings. In the spring of '72, Jeffrey was transferred to the USS Shelton, a battle-tested Korean War destroyer with a crew of 275 men and twin 5-inch guns. On May 30th, Jeffrey was told that the ship was going to Vietnam. He wrote his parents and asked if Alice and Damon could live in independence with them while he was gone. They agreed. On June 13th, Jeffrey kissed Alice and Damon goodbye. 27 days later, the USS Shelton arrived off the coast of Vietnam. On board the ship, Jeffrey spent all of his free time reading the Book of Mormon. Like the Bible, it was divided into books rather than chapters, and he studied all 15. He still wanted to know the scriptures better than Alice. One verse that Jeffrey read while studying bothered him. Verse 65 in the second book, in the second book of Nephi said, "For the Spirit is the same, yesterday, today, and forever." Jeffrey was confident that he knew what it meant. God hadn't changed since the time of Moses. God was God. But if that was true and God hadn't changed, then why didn't he still do all of the wonderful things that he had done in biblical days? Okay. Specifically, why hadn't he intervened in Jeffrey's life? Alice had told him about her experiences at the summer camp and how he's praying for evil, an evil presence had tried to crush her in her bedroom. Jeffrey had never experienced any supernatural event. He had prayed for some sort of sign, but there was none. While Jeffrey wrestled with the spiritual back in independence, Alice was learning about the secular. Lois was keeping her promise of accepting Alice as a member of the Lundgren family. Like Professor Higgins, she was supervising a transformation. She taught Alice how to style her hair. She got Alice to stop biting her fingernails, and when she did, Lois rewarded her with a manicure. They went shopping together, and Lois taught Alice how to select outfits that complemented her figure and how to mix and match blouses and skirts so that they didn't clash. Lois taught Alice about antiques and showed her how to refinish furniture. She instructed her on etiquette, simple things really, such as how to correctly set a table and host a party. In the kitchen, Lois showed Alice how to cook meals that were more exotic than the meat and potatoes that she had grown up eating. While Lois kept busy with Alice, Dawn focused on Damon. They became buddies. Each morning, the 22-month-old would fuss, unless he got to eat his Rice Krispie cereal with his pawpaw. Oh. Anyways, Jeffrey had told Alice that his father was a cold and harsh taskmaster, but she saw none of that in the way Don treated his grandson. If anything, he spoiled him. On the clear and sunny Sunday morning of October 15th, 1972, Jeffrey's scripture studies were interrupted by a loud boom. The USS Shelton was under attack. Naval intelligence had assured the destroyer's captain that the island of Hanko, I guess, called Tiger Island by U.S. troops, was free of enemy artillery, but the reports had been wrong. The first round fired by enemy artillery dropped short. The second overshot the ship. Obviously, the North Vietnamese were sighting in their weapon for the kill. But when the third round was fired, it dropped short too, and then the firing ended. The ship's captain described the brief attack in the ship's log as an extremely close call. 4 days later, the destroyer was in the Gulf of Tonkin when enemy artillery began shooting. This time, the battle was much more fierce. For 30 minutes, enemy guns exchanged fire with the USS Shelton and a nearby cruiser, the USS Providence. The two U.S. ships fired more than 120 rounds at the enemy. The North Vietnamese fired just as many back, yet neither U.S. ship was hit. While the destroyer's crew joked about the enemy's poor marksmanship, Jeffrey began developing a different theory. In mid-December, the destroyer again came under attack. The captain of the USS Shelton would later report that more than 190 shots were fired at his ship. None hit. 2 days later, the destroyer was engaged in the biggest battle of its history. More than 700 shots were fired at the USS Shelton by a battery of shore guns. As Lundgren and other crew members manned their battle stations, rounds peppered the water, causing geyser-like eruptions. Despite the repeated firing, not a single round hit the destroyer. Many splashes within 50 yards were observed, the captain wrote in the ship's log, with one missing the port bow by only 20 feet. It was, the captain noted, a miracle that the USS Shelton escaped the onslaught of enemy rounds. That was exactly how Jeffrey felt. The enemy had us. They fired shells over us. They fired shells short. They had us locked on with radar. There was no way they could miss, but they fired and fired and fired, and they couldn't hit us. There was no reason for them to miss except for one reason. God made it impossible for them to hit the ship. As the USS Shelton sailed out of the Gulf of Tonkin on December 22nd and made its way home, the crew celebrated its good luck. Jeffrey watched with a knowing grin. None of his shipmates realized that the only reason that they were alive was because of him. He explained later. He had been the only saint aboard the ship. A scripture popped into his mind. For the Spirit is the same yesterday, today, and forever. God had showed me a sign, Jeffrey said. He had protected the ship because he didn't want me to die in Vietnam. For the first time in his life, Jeffrey looked upon religion as something useful. He also remembered that Alice had told him about the patriarch's prediction. Alice's husband was going to do great things for the church. All the way home, Jeffrey studied the scriptures. All right, I think we'll stop there. And it's pretty interesting, though. I didn't expect to come in here and read it, but it's kind of interesting. Hey, oh, I appreciate you, Donna.
Hey, Chris.
Woo!
I'm popping. Damn it. Could you possibly please read Carrie Ann's thing again? Nobody heard it.
Oh, God, yeah. It was long. But I'm good, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get out.
Okay. Oh, no. Let's see. I never could find the JJ one. I said that, but nobody heard me. I was out. Let's see. All right. I had it pulled up earlier and then I don't know. I'm just going to have to click stuff. That's not it. I'm looking for it. So, hold, please. Y'all know I'm not very well with my computer. I'll read it from my phone. I know where it is on my phone. Allegedly. Yep, went right to it. Okay, this is from Carrie Ann. And okay, I could put that picture up, right? I could do that. I'll share this tab instead. And let me go back. I don't think I covered me. Yeah, no, I did. And let me not mute myself. I was about to mute myself like a dum-dum. All right. This is from Carrie Ann, and this is to Tylee. I may have never met you in person, but I've learned so much about you these last 4 years. You are such a beautiful young lady who has a heart of gold that loves so deeply. I have watched you grow up from a little baby to a beautiful young woman through videos and pictures, and that has brought me to love you like you were my own family. I have seen a picture of you as a baby sitting on a lawn chair, wearing the cutest sun hat with a strap around your chin to hold it in. I'm sorry, I read it perfect earlier. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try and get situated. Um, ah, dressed in a little. Oh my gosh! To hold it on your little head, dressed in a little flower baby romper. You were absolutely adorable. You had the cutest little smile on your face with your little eyes squinted like babies do. Looking at that photo just makes me want to pick you up and love on you and get baby snuggles in. I have seen pictures of you as a toddler. You had the most beautiful blonde hair and the biggest blue eyes I have ever seen, and the biggest smile that can fit on such an adorable little face. I have seen a photo of you with a microphone singing, and I can only imagine what Disney song you were trying to sing that day. I'm sure it was precious. I have seen a photo of you in your cute little flowered swimsuit. Yeah. With one hand on your cheek and and your hair and a little pebbles ponytail on top of your head. You had such a cute, innocent smile on your face, as I am sure that you were excited to go swimming in your pool. I have seen a photo of you going down a slide at a park with both of your hands up high, with an open mouth smile as someone was getting ready to push you down the slide. I can almost hear your sweet giggles that day by looking at the picture. I have seen photos of you when you were in the hospital in 2008 with your big brother Colby by your side, sitting in the hospital bed with his arm around you. You were there with pancreatitis. You still had a smile on your sweet face as you did in so many other pictures. I have also seen a photo of you in the hospital with 4 of your friends coming to visit you when you were a young lady, and once again you had the biggest smile on your face. I am sure that it made you happy to have your friends there to talk girl talk with you. I have seen photos of you dressed up for Halloween in a Superman costume. I have seen a photo of you dressed up as Pebbles with Brandon. You looked absolutely adorable. I have also seen a photo of you bowling. You were holding up a green bowling ball with a smile upon your face as you were getting ready to throw that ball to get a strike. I've seen a photo of you and Colby at Easter with your purple bucket full of Easter eggs. I can almost hear your giggles and see your excitement as you were opening those plastic eggs to see what was inside of them. I have seen I have seen photos of you at Disneyland and a video of you on Modern Family as you were walking through Disneyland. I'm sure that you were super excited to tell people that you were famous that day. I have learned that you loved going to Disneyland just as any young girl would as well. I have seen a photo of you as a little girl playing dress up in a Princess Belle dress. You had a cute little dress up bracelet and necklace on to go with that dress. You were holding a little pink and white umbrella. probably twirling it around in circles like all little girls do. This is one of my favorite pictures of you as a little girl doing what little girls do. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. Dressed up like a little princess. I have seen photos of you singing in a musical, and I'm sure that you did great and sang so beautifully. I have heard you sing a few of your favorite songs, and your voice was magical, sweet, and innocent. I have seen photos of you with your dad, Joseph, and you when you were a baby, and some when you were just a little girl. You always had a smile on your face as you went on some adventures with your dad. I seen a photo of you on a ski trip, and one of them, you were putting snow on your dad's head. I am sure that you loved to see snow as a little girl and that you had a blast learning how to ski. I have also seen a photo of you walking a horse on the side of the stables. It was a magical white horse, and you had the most adorable cowgirl boots on that day with the biggest smile on your face, as you were probably super excited about getting ready to ride this horse like a big girl. I have, I hate, I hate my throat. I'm a Taurus. Anyways, I have learned that you also love the water, the beach, and the ocean. Well, let me go change the photo real quick. And there is this one. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so in the ocean, there is a photo of you walking on the beach with your footprints behind you while you were holding your shoes. That absolutely is breathtaking. You had such an eye for photography, and you knew exactly what to do to make a magical picture for you and everyone else. One of my favorite beach pictures was of you covering the lower part of your body in the sand and shaped it as a mermaid tail. I love the I love the picture that you took off your shoes and your friend's shoes on the beach. You wrote forever in the sand and placed your shoes above it. That was such a great idea. And the picture turned out so cool. You had so many magical moments with your friend Visaya in Hawaii, and you can see the love that you had for each other as best friends in every photo that you have together. I have also seen a few videos that you have made together, from jumping off into the water and swimming in the ocean to videos of you just being silly teenage girls. I have also seen a video of you saying to the camera that JJ is your son. That video was so adorable and told the world just how much you loved your little brother and that you protected him in every way that you could. All the videos and photos that I have seen with you and JJ say so many words in each photo. One thing is for sure is that you always have your arms around him as if you were loving him with with everything that you had and protecting him from the world. I'm gotta try and clear my throat. Let me try and find my. Okay, hopefully. Okay. Let me try and find it. Protecting him from the world. Oh God, here it goes again. It's like my throat tickles. Anyways, you and JJ had the strongest bond as siblings, and you were always there for him. You you can see that JJ loved you more than anything. You were and still are his best friend and his superhero. You were and still are the best big sister that JJ could have ever asked for in this entire world. Even in your last photo together, you were there to hold him close and to give him the love that he needed. Love that was real and genuine. You knew that you needed to be JJ's protector and that he couldn't go to Idaho alone. I can only imagine how hard that was for you to leave all of your friends. I gotta take something to drink. I'm sorry. I burnt myself out on the book. Oh my gosh. Okay. It's not you, it's me, it's my throat. Or whatever the hell this is. The VALLOW clearing of the throat. Anyways, I can only imagine how hard that was for you to leave all of your friends and everything that you knew, but I know that the love that you had for JJ took priority over your own feelings. You couldn't let him go without you. And that right there shows me and the entire world just how special you are. You were there for JJ until you were not able to be. I wish so much that time could turn back and things would have turned out different for you and sweet JJ. You had so much love to give and so much life to live. Excuse me. Your work was not done here on earth, and it's not fair that people got to decide that for you. I know that you are still wrapping JJ. I'm sorry. I know that you are still wrapping up JJ in your arms and loving him with every ounce of love that you can give. I hope that you are dancing and singing in the most magical voice in a huge field of endless purple flowers, in the most magical dress that anyone could ever imagine. Or maybe you're jumping into heaven's magical oceans and swimming around with a purple mermaid tail while singing your favorite song under the sea. Just remember, there are no more worries or heartbreak for you. You can finally be free of everything, and you are protected by the gates of heaven and loved by JJ and Charles, and you will never feel scared or alone again. They cannot take that away from you anymore. Just remember, sweet, beautiful Tylee, love always wins. That part got me the first time I read it in the beginning. Whew. Yeah. Yeah. It's my throat. Whatever. It's my VALLOW thing. That was beautiful. Okay, I've said it before, but I got kicked out of my own live stream because I read it in its entirety. And I read it, of course I did. Of course I read it beautifully that time, right? Nobody heard me. That's about right.
Cresha.
Yeah.
Carrie Ann has sent you the one for JJ too, but since your voice is getting played out, do you want to do the one for JJ next time?
Yeah, I will. I mean, yeah. That's not that too, and I'm out of breath. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to breathe right.
Well, that'll give us something to look forward to,
Yeah,
getting to hear
I
the
thought
other one
about that
from Carrie
too.
Ann.
Because Jason had reminded me, he was like, hey, or he had let me know that Carrie had, put it up in chat yesterday, I guess, during the stream that, um, and so it reminded me that there's some people that sent them in
Yes.
that I wasn't able to get to. And so we'll just kind of make that our ritual.
Okay. All right.
So,
That's a good idea. All right.
so
I'm gonna back out. Oh,
yeah.
and you can do your thing, and then when you get ready to close, remind me, and I'll end us.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm so sorry. Like sometimes I can read and sometimes I can't. Sometimes it just slips and then I fall right into the hole. Oh, I did the wrong thing. But yeah, that was so beautiful. I wish it would have caught me the first time. I wish that it would have recorded me the first time. Damn internet. Because there was a few times when I read it and I could picture the outfit or the picture that you were talking about, and it's just sweet. It's bittersweet though, and it's unnecessary. Not yours, but it's unnecessary what happened, of course. But I remember whenever Carrie's been here since the very beginning, and whenever I went to Rexburg to go to court, whenever Lori became competent, and I really respected Carrie just for how she was. She was not pushy. She was not like, look at me, don't forget about me. She wasn't in your face. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. And there's just a lot of people and a lot of things going on. And I'm a very, I'm a feelsy person. So I respond to all the, what do you call that? The, I don't know. Anyways, That's going to piss me off. Oh my gosh, the feelings, the emotions, anyways. And she was just sweet and just, respectful. And I don't know, she was pretty much my favorite person there. Just saying. And I really appreciate you for that, Carrie. I appreciate you for being here. You know, since this happened, since this rolled out, I look up to you a lot. You may not know that, but I do. um, so I'm really glad that you're here and part of this this community. I was going to say team, same difference. Part of our cult. Oh, buying a cake for Tylee's 21st birthday on the 24th too. Yeah, I remember you saying that too. I'm gonna say your name. I'm gonna try to. Minister Nawa. I don't know. Did I say it right? Probably not. It took me like 3 years just to say that. Carrie, anytime. I mean, for real. If there's anything I can ever do for anybody out there, let me know. Let us know. I feel like I can't do enough. There's not enough words. I love you. Love, thank you. Those aren't sufficient enough to say how I really feel. You know what I mean? Kind of like evil. It's not enough to explain what Lori and Chad did. It's kind of the same. It's like there's no words bigger. So I do it. I try to do it by action. Y'all help me too. Y'all really do. Without this as an outlet, who knows where I'd be. So you guys are just as gracious, and I appreciate that. And I can't wait. I'm gonna look in my emails. We'll gather a couple and just kind of make that our ritual. And we don't have to stop either. So that's one thing. I've been fantasizing. This is bad. I've been like, kind of imagining scenarios where I have to write voice or something, and I'm just like, oh yeah, say this and that. Anyways, it just sucks. It just sucks. I feel like this came to my mind. I feel like I don't trust in that process anymore because it doesn't even acknowledge me. So their system doesn't acknowledge me. So I have no, I don't know. I went and read the victim statute 53 in Idaho, whatever. And I was like, it really, the way I read it, now I read it out loud to Jason, poor thing. And I was like, right here, this is the little loophole, right? Because just because Judge Boyce appointed, Mom and Summer as being representatives or whatever, what about the rest of us? Like that doesn't make them the victim. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make sense. So what if someone murders somebody outside of their family? Okay, that right? Or am I? Anyways, it just doesn't make sense. The wedding, huh? Oh yeah, Mary and KJ did Mary and Ricky's wedding today. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I hope so, Lee. Might as well start working on Arizona now, huh? I'm gonna catch her somewhere. I'll catch her, in one of these prisons. I'll catch her. I'll dangle some whatever, some money. I'll be like, hey, girl, I gave you some money. I need some talk time. Not to get close I don't want to hear anything about, like, I don't ever want to hear, if she ever apologized, I'm talking about Lori, which I know she wouldn't. I'm just saying, I want to ask her some questions and then I'm done. I don't know. I know a lot of people are like, no, I don't ever want to talk to her. Well, that's good. I don't know. I just want to see her reaction, mainly. Trace, you're hunting a hotel. I want to go. Where are we going? Lee here says, yep, AZ will be completely different ball game. They are pissed. She showed them up. Right? It was Mary, her friend. Yeah. Her neighbor. Yeah. I turned it on. I got up right whenever she was going off, and I like got a comment in right before the live stream ended. I was like, hey, it was just 14 or so minutes into it. Whenever I jumped in, I gotta see Kate, like the aspect on KJ's phone. I'm like, God, it's really wide and stretched out. I don't know what happened. She started doing it that way, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's okay if you're watching it in the app or whatever, but not on the TV. It don't look good. It would make my booty look even bigger. What would I ask? I want to know about the comings and goings of the church. That's what I would ask. I would, me, Janet. That's exactly where I'd beeline. I swear, the day Summer was there, and I told Summer what I thought. I was like, no, I believe it was second anointing, you know. And she was like, and I could see how you get there. And I was like, oh, no. I don't need an explanation. I was just letting you know that's what I think. Like I just, and so there's Lori right there. And I mean, there's some times when I would be in there, and I mean, you pass, your eyes pass, they lock, they don't lock, you smile, you're like, I want to hurt you. So many different emotions. Sometimes I could cut it off, and it's like a light switch. I could turn it off and on depending on what was coming out. But that day I just wanted, I mean, I had to stop myself physically from like being like, hey, you know, and I was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. It's not the time or the place. And, but I mean, if I could have asked her right there, I'd have been like, did you take part in the second anointing or anything like that? I mean, or I don't know. To me, I just want the truth. Yes or no, you know? I don't think I'm going to get it from Lori, but you still get it in there, what they're not trying to sell you. You know what I mean? That's where I picked up a lot of this stuff, was all the stuff that they're not trying to sell you. It's in their little chatter. They tell the truth, not on purpose. Yeah, they're anti-truth. But I'm so glad you're here, Rombo. I don't know. There's a few things I would ask. I don't know. Maybe I should start writing this stuff down, huh, Janet? Yes, and not in the damn waiting room. But at least we got testimony that it made it inside the temple. It's protected anyways, from the laws of the land. So it's not like we can do anything. But I just want to know. I want to know. There's too many temple visits with like-minded people, with the friends, and all around the murders, just bold, and that bothers me. That bothers me. I mean, I think about Tammy, and oh my God, the betrayal is real. Now, from what I've seen about temple visits and stuff, I mean, it's not like you go and hold hands or anything. I mean, yeah, it depends on what they're doing, but when they sit on the little couches and they meditate or pray or whatever. JJ's birthday. What, Jason? What you talking about, Willis? What are you talking about? Oh, JJ's birthday. It was on, oh crap, May 26th, May 25th, May 25th, 2012. I was there when he was born. Oh, I was so happy that day. I was so worried that day, though. I was so happy and I was worried. I was an aunt for the first time, but I was worried because he was so early. And Mandy was, I mean, she was in ICU. Her blood pressure went up really high and she had some issues, some problems, you know. And he had so many wires in his little body, and I really didn't think he was going to make it, but he did. And then that's whenever I knew, when I knew that the kids were murdered, that's what really, that's what I really clung to was, and that haunts me, is their last moments on this earth. That's always bothered me. And I still didn't really get a lot of answers, but I know that for sure that my nephew fought. Just like he fought to come into this world, he fought going out. And it was Chad. And I hope like hell it was his mama. I was like, check his fingernails, you know? And one of his little fingernails popped off. It's so hard to talk about. Both of those babies. I don't know. Seems like I could talk about it more before the trials. And I have to kind of take it in doses whenever I, you know, not here, but whenever the trial testimony or whatever comes up on autoplay. Yeah, I got it, babe. Thank you. He looks like your grandson. Oh, that's sweet. He was just a little bossy dude, you know. So whenever I watch videos of JJ and Tylee now, you know, like through this process and just editing, and it's amazing what you pick up when you're editing. Oh my God. Okay. I'm like, wait, what did they say? And so, yeah, it was the last New Year's and that we spent with Uncle Charles and JJ. And this is whenever Charles and Lori split up, you know, when she was being a terrorist, which was a long time. But anyway, so it was the last New Year's. And so that's actually that weekend, 2018 going into 2019, there's in the FOIA docs and in testimony, they were trying to pray away and pray for my uncle to be killed in a car accident that very weekend. You know, such kosher, great, awesome, stellar people that they are. But so JJ, it was my son's birthday. My son's birthday is January 1st. And so JJ and Zach got to see each other for the first time in 6 years. You know, they're cousins, you know. And anyway, so we sang my son happy birthday. And I've got JJ saying happy birthday. I mean, you can hear it over everybody. You can hear JJ singing happy birthday, dear Zachary, Ryan, he says. And it's just cute. It's just one of those little memories. But there's also, we're in my uncle's shop, and there's like, it's a workshop. So there's just stuff everywhere. And so the cake's there, and we're just out there in the shop, you know, with all the kids doing a happy birthday thing, happy New Year's, yada, yada. And JJ, he would just, you know, he repeats himself too. He would repeat himself like I just did. And he grabbed the lighter, and Jason was like, no. And he was like, flick the big, you know. And then in the video, he also says, duct tape. And I was just like, oh my God, whenever I heard that, you know, because I was editing it, trying to upload it to YouTube, I was like, Jason, oh my God, he said duct tape. There's duct tape on the table, but still, it's just one of those things that you just don't, there's no coincidences in this. And Yeah, her hiatus. hmm Yeah, I've seen that before, Carrie. I mean, it's just amazing. Your daughter was born with multiple congenital heart defects when she was born. She was life flight to Salt Lake City and then had tubes going in and out of her. The first time I got to see her. Yeah, it's so you just want to if you want to just take it all away and just that's how the baby, you know? I don't care how big they get. Yeah. I don't know. That's all we have now is memories, you know? So I like that. They live on this way. You know, some people are like, they don't want to bring it up or whatever. They don't want to bring it up. And I love talking about them because I feel like whenever we stop talking about them, sharing memories, sharing stories, I feel like that's when they truly do die, you know? So they've impacted so many people, so many lives around this godforsaken world. And I think that is so, oh my God. I think that's so beautiful. I understand it's horrible. However, out of that horrible situation and these tragedies, they've also, woke up so many or awakened so many people. They have me, and continue to do so. Um, they've touched so many lives, and I think that is very commendable. And, I don't know. I'm not making any sense. It's just, yeah, I know. And my mom, I'm gonna have to tell her stop taking my memory. That's my video. I'm like, you were not there, Mom. You were in Arizona helping Uncle Charles move. And I mean, it was weird because I don't remember taking that video whenever the kids had just been announced they were missing or whatever publicly. So it was Christmas Eve, and I had a dream, and I didn't want to tell my parents about it, And I saw a couple days in advance. I was like, I gotta tell y'all something, I gotta let you know about this dream I had. I don't want to tell you, but I need to tell you. I just needed to do that. And it's like, I told them, and then it's like, we all just still continued on. It's like, you still go. It's like, oh, well, I don't want that dream to be real. Or I don't want to think about them being dead, So you just drop, that just falls away. And then you just continue on with hope, and you don't stop until you get answers. And there's people out there who have loved ones missing who don't have that. They never find. Look at Harmony. Look at little Harmony. That's horrible. What? Oh my God. People are going crazy. You know? Uh, anyways, that's nuts. But there's people that don't get even that much closure. So I feel like we're blessed in that sense because at least we know they're dead. We know that they were murdered, and it's harder to convict. It would be nice to bury them. That would be nice instead of them holding them hostage. That's how I feel. Like, how much can you terrorize a family? Can we please bury our little dead children? Idaho, please. Messer, Anyways, you do. That's sweet. Oh, I love seeing, and yeah, my parents love hearing stories. They get so many stories about, other grandparents who they're debating, whether or not to raise their grandson or their granddaughter with, oh my gosh, with special needs or autism, and they write to Mom and Larry all the time saying that they're such an inspiration and they're the reason that they are raising their grandkids. And I just think that's so commendable. And that to me is how God works, if anybody wanted to know. But yeah, it is. It's hard. It is hard to see with a gross smile. They suck. They're void of light. They're the zombie. They're projecting. So they called everybody zombies, and they're the zombies. Like she was the cheater, he was the cheater, but yet they're the cheaters. So it's crazy. So, but anyways, thank you so much. I was just getting it. Yeah, it really bothers Jason and the kids, awesome. I'm sorry. I was just getting in the family. JJ and Tyler were awesome. If you have got to talk with Charles, you would have known why those kids were like they were. Charles was an amazing man. He was corny as the day is long. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, Jason, remind me. He is my brain, y'all. He had 2 strokes. This dude runs circles around me still. But I had ran across an email or a paperwork of my uncle's, and it's like he has like a whole a bunch of stapled papers together that were jokes. They were Chuck Norris jokes, and they're I'm like, oh my god, yes. So the next time I come on, I'll read a couple. Yeah, there's no soul there. No soul. She's gone. That's exactly how I look at Lori. She's gone. She's not there. There's a shell left. Even Chad, I didn't even know him before, but you can see it. It's not there. Oh, good, JLL. I was just thinking, oh my God, I've been wanting to text you, and I've been meaning to. I'm so glad you're here. How's it going? How are you doing? I'm so glad. Jason, remind me. What was the other thing? About the jokes. Yeah. I'll share those with you. It cracked me up one night. I did a pre-record or whatever, but I did not ever put it out. I've done a lot of those. So I'm just very self-conscious. But how are you doing, JOL? I'm so glad to see you here. How's your daughter? How's all the things? And Mary, too. I got to talk to Mary finally yesterday. Minister, I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say her name. I'm going to call you Minnie. Been tempted to go back to the LDS church just to say, I told you so. I left the church because of how one day someone would use the book of Nephi to justify murder. Jeffrey Lundgren does. It's just, I'm going to go through to, I say I'm going to do a lot of things. But no, really, I am. Because, there's so many things. They get them to Jeffrey Lundgren, his little clan or whatever. They get them to call them mom and dad. Okay. So there's Melanie Pulaski got, she was calling Chad dad. Okay. And then they had the arranged marriages. I just found this out with Lundgren. Lundgren said the way he would read scripture was chiastic or whatever. Chiastic? I don't know. And it's some of the ways they read, or what am I trying to say? I say decoded, translated the Book of Mormon, and they say the Bible. I don't know. But anyway, so the way he said that, okay, Jeffrey Lundgren said in, all this research and these books and the research papers and everything, it's court record, actually. Yeah, it's in a sentencing filing But he said that the scriptures would give the names of their perfect companion spouse. Like it would be their perfect companion. Oh my God, my nose. So I'm like, oh my God, because yes, Chad and Lori did try to get Melanie Gibb to marry Alex. I have the email, you know, that, was sent to my mom. But that didn't make it out on the Reddit email, or at least not right away. But anyways, neither here nor there. Just know that. And it makes sense with the rest of the stuff, because then there's a lemma and Alex. Okay. And the right vibrations and this and that. So, okay. So you have this, they have like a hand guide or something, some little, how to, what did I put? America's next top Mormon prophet or something I came up with earlier. Hey girl. Hey Kim. How you doing? How's it going? Oh my gosh. I'm burning the hell up in here though. It's hot. Yeah, it's hot. I'm surprised I'm not sweating more. I know, because they are the most amazing supportive group, right? A family unto each other in addition to Kresha. Lord. Y'all didn't know what y'all were getting into. But I'm so glad you do. I am. How's it going, Kim? Why are you lost? Oh, you are found. That's awesome. Right. No, God does not tell anybody to kill anybody. What would be his job? Hey, weird mom, where'd y'all just let out or something? Y'all been partying? I'm just kidding. How are you doing, weird mom? You making any music? Oh, I'm okay, Kim. Making it. My ass is fat though. I'm just saying, I got to start getting out. I'm miserable, and it's hot, so I'm big girl and miserable. Well, you don't know. She's tiny. She's a tiny little thing. Always has been. And I go from one extreme to another. I'm like I'm either too skinny or on the other side, which is where I normally hang out. Oh no, I'm about to go. Actually, I gotta get some air. It's hot in here. Our whatever central air or whatever is not blowing cold, so Jason needs to charge it, the Freon or whatever. I think. And he's probably cussing me right now because he's probably like, no, that's not what it is. Oh, that's good. I'm so glad to hear that, JLL. That's good. You deserve it. You deserve it. 2 weeks or longer. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm always coming back. I'm like a plunger. Just kidding. Kind of. I'm kind of kidding. Anyways, I was thinking also about since Judge Boyce will not recognize the fact that there are more victims other than what they deem as family slash victim slash representatives. Anyways, I don't know. Do y'all have a plan? Oh my God, my nose. But somebody had mentioned to me the other day about, just kind of rallying up mainly me and Larry and whomever else, because it knows no bounds in my club over here. I don't get to tell you how to grieve, but they had mentioned that, just to do it. And I don't know. First, I got to find my words. That's the first thing. But I don't know, just to get it out to some news stations or whatever and just make it public that they can't take away from us, allegedly, yet. Again, I don't know. I'm back where Larry was whenever he said that whoever appointed Judge Boyce should get on their knees. I was like, oh, Lord. And then I was like, and then, you sit there and you look at this judge and he sees you and you see him and he knows he's stupid. And he's just like, no, we just don't have time for your kind. So my court does not acknowledge your pain or your loss or anything. We don't even acknowledge you. You don't exist. I got you, boo. There's more than one way to skin a cat. That's coon ass. Yeah. Tylee's age, yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Getting air. I need to go outside and get some air. I need to go burn some stuff in my burn barrel. It's about that time. A little frustration take out. I don't know. I'm just disappointed. Just very disappointed with Judge Boyce. I didn't even write a statement because I was just like, I don't know. Just something just tells me. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, that was my whole thing from the very beginning. I was like, I don't have to file for any assistance. I don't need to be dubbed anything. I just want to be able to read my victim impact statement. I've bugged my mom about that since jump. And she was like, when we found this out, I was like, well, I'm certainly glad I didn't put any effort into that, And anyway, so I was numb for a little while. Still kind of am. I'm very numb. It comes in waves. Yeah. Yeah. It's real. Valid. It's just like, first off, nobody asked you to define it on this part, Judge, unless somebody did, and then I'd be like, why? Did Rob Wood ever respond? I think they were supposed to. I need more water too. It's definitely time. Yeah. I don't know. But either way, I think there's again always more than one way to skin a cat, and I think that we can rally together. And I mean, if anything, for sure, Larry and Mom have made a lot of connections with news organizations, and when you walk outside of the point, it makes me I don't know, I get chills and I don't know, just really full. And then I'm also like, oh my God, when I ran across some video of us exiting the courtroom in Boise, and then just like, woo, and then when I went back and watched the people outside of the courtroom react as Lori, as guilty, guilty, guilty. I mean, that was so moving for me to see that, because we couldn't even move, and I don't remember being in the courtroom. You can't respond, you can't react, can't smirk, you can't do anything. You're just like, So I remember, like, I don't know, hands were on everybody. That's all I remember. And so Mom would squeeze my shoulder. I had Uncle Jerry, and Jason was back here. He was sobbing his eyeballs out. I was like, are you okay? And I don't know. It was just, it went too fast. I was just like, oh, guilty. Okay, cool. I'm just totally outer body experiences. Are you okay? He's old and he talks to himself a lot. And I'm like, what? Anyways, yeah, I'm so glad y'all are here. Thank you. Appreciate it. We've been reading the Jeffrey Lundgren book, The Prophet. That's Chad Daybell's book. The Prophet of Death, the Mormon Blood Atonement Killings. I'm telling you, there's a lot of similarities. Oh, I went to the wrong thing. A lot of similarities. Can't have that many weird things happen in like-minded people stories. Okay? There's something bigger. So, anyways, I'm going to go. I appreciate you, Donna, Beach Bum, and Trace on the Case. Thank you. Gracias. I appreciate y'all. You guys are some real sports too. But oh, and my internet's starting to flip. So, anyways, I'll see you soon. Hopefully, yes. Anyways, I love you guys. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. Love always wins. Never forget it. Thank you. Right. My logic is